This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised. Good morning, everybody, and evening for some of you around the world. Today we come to you from the tent here at SafariLive. My name is James Hendry, and I'm standing just outside my tent with the one animal that you will not see, in fact, here in the Kruger National Park, nor, in fact, will you see it in the Masai Mara, where David Gitu is operating this morning. We are in the tent because the rain is foul and full and falling from the sky at the moment. We had a deluge last night, and possibly we'll have another deluge this morning. Please ask us any questions you'd like to using the hashtags SafariLive on Twitter and the YouTube chat stream. Now, I know that I've got everything covered there, but that it was in a slightly garbled and illogical order, if you like. That's because it's still very early in the morning. You can still see it's dark, just after 5 o'clock. This is, of course, a springbok. And a springbok is the national animal of South Africa. I think that's why we have one in here. I didn't order it. Steph ordered it. I think he likes springboks. And in fact, they're fascinating creatures that live in the much drier, high-veld regions of this country. Our national rugby team is named after them. We don't need to go into that because, of course, most of you don't really watch or know much about rugby, and why should you? So, we're going to be in the tent today. We'll be looking, hopefully, for some interesting things. We do have Steve out on Rusty, and we're hoping that he will be doing something useful, like finding Tlalamba. I know that he has had a few audio issues, but hopefully he'll be out soon. Courtney, you say you're so happy that Djuma's getting some rain. I, too, am very happy that Djuma's getting some rain, on account of the fact that it is so very dry. We had probably, I'm going to say, about 20 millimeters last night, which is about an inch of rain. Interestingly, this floor has fallen away completely underneath here. You can see, which is a complete disaster. Corley, Trishara and I spent a long time fixing it yesterday, but alas, it is now broken. So, this is where I'm going to place myself for much of the rest of the 3 hours. Paula, you want to know if I have a favourite item in the tent? Yes, I think this is my favourite item in the tent, the microscope. I haven't managed to find anything to put under it yet, on account of the fact that if I go outside and look too hard, it'll probably result in my death because it is so dark. But what we have there is an amazing thing. Beautiful. Look at that. It's a tiger's tail. A small baby tiger's tail that we harvested from the rare pygmy African tiger the other day. They grow back, of course, so you can harvest these things entirely sustainably. Faith, are we able to go to the microscope feed? You can see it looks like a piece of plastic. It isn't, of course. That is how they attach. Oh, we can't go to the microscope feed. That's a great disappointment. I hope that will be sorted out during the course of the show. Otherwise, the microscope is going to be entirely superfluous. It's really quite fun also to do this, for example. Okay, so let's do this next. I know that this is advanced microscope technique, everybody. Wait, let me do it on this side. You can see somebody's eyeball quite nicely. Wait a second, this is quite amusing. We don't have anything else at the moment, so I'm going to do this for you. It's not working very well. I think we need a bit more light. Oh, there we go. Beautiful. Can you see my eyeball, Faith? Great. Have a look at my eyeball, Faith. Ooh, look at that. Isn't that delicious? Unbelievable. Sorry, let's take it out again. I apologize for that rather messy segment. Anyway, that's what we'll be using the microscope for. Probably not for my eye. We'll probably find some other interesting things to look for, and something other than the African pygmy tiger's tail harvested yesterday off a baby African pygmy tiger. Like I say, you can do it entirely sustainably. All right, good. Well, that's what's going to happen here today. We have our first creature. It is in fact an ant. It looks like a spider. You know, it's a spider. It's not an ant. And I wonder if it isn't one of those spiders that disguises itself as an ant. I think it could easily be. And then it goes and lives in an ant nest and eats the residents. I don't know what spider that is. That's a beautiful picture. Oops. That's gorgeous. There's also a hare there, which is not quite so gorgeous. I don't know where that comes from. It's definitely not mine, of course. I know that because I don't have any hair. Okay, let's go up to the Masai Mara for some real safari. It's still dark, I'm sure, in the Masai Mara where David Gathambagithu is driving about.
Hello everyone, and Jambo Jambo, happy Valentine everybody. And we are coming to you from the Mara Triangle in Kenya. And as usual, my name is David, and on camera is Archie. Archie, very good morning. Archie says it's very chilly because we're talking of 65 degrees Fahrenheit and 18 degrees Celsius in metric system. Very excited to have all of you on board. At one point today, I thought I'll just jump out of the vehicle and wish all the big 5 animals of Africa, you know, happy Valentine, all the insects, all the birds in the air, all the trees, and above all the flowers, and more so the zebras, because today I have worn my zebra boots that I have not worn for a very long time. I'm a little bit jealous of James being in the tent because he is much warm in the tent. And I'm sure when he is not talking to you, he's sipping some coffee somehow. I want to believe that. And I'm sure he must have told you as usual. Should you have any questions, comments, hashtag SafariLive on Twitter, or you can follow us on the YouTube chat stream. All right. So, business now, and it's rather dark here. And of course, should we see anything, we'll be in infrared. And it is time to look for animals, and hopefully today, James Henry, you should see how good I look, and I'm wearing this hat for a very special occasion. And normally, I usually wear green shuka, but today I thought I'm not going to wear the green shuka because it is not going to make any sense. So this a particular hat that I borrowed from my brother, a gentleman we call Kefa. He told me it must be this and not any other hat tomorrow, David. So I'm sure James will understand that. And I do not know how James will look like in the tent. Thank you for this. It's beautiful. But certainly, James, I think I look a lot better than you. So, Faith, I don't know how James is dressed, but I will request you to ask all the viewers at one point, if James has anything that has to do with red color, please ask all the viewers. We're going to do a poll. And okay, a rain jacket in the tent. I don't know what James is talking about. Well, just to let James know, the village I come from in Kenya, we have events on the calendar like today that do not count. So, Faith, ask the viewers. James in his red jackets, David in his hat, and my red shuka. Let's do a small little poll at the end of the drive and find out who looks truly Valentine. I'm sure Trish and the other guys will be out today, are all very colored. And let's find out what the viewers think. All right, my plans for today, as usual, is to go to my favorite Pride of Lions, and I'm headed to the Sausage Republic. Bring that comment again from James Faith as I tried to look for anything in this grass. Must have been a nice comment from James there that I might have missed. James, you'd like to see a waterbuck, and especially the nose, because you think it takes the ship over hard. I will do the best I can, but I'm trying to remember, James, the last time I saw waterbucks around the area I am going is a long time. Along the Mara River. Oh, goodness me, I hear so far I am leading in the poll. I am very, very happy. All of you keep sending your polls, keep sending your votes, and I think from what Faith tells me in the final control, I am doing better than James Henry. James Henry, I know you are my boss, and I might be in trouble by the end of the day. Who knows? Let's see. You know, I might get maybe a salary cut for looking better than you today, because I'm sure you know how popular you are with the viewers. Anyhow, I'm saying the area I'm going, it's mainly buffaloes when you talk of the herbivores, elephants, and I'm trying to remember the last time I saw waterbuck in that area. But if I'm like to see one, we'll let you to know. Very good. Keep sending your votes. Remember, hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. And I am not the only one who would want to wish all of you a very happy Valentine's Day, because another brother of mine in Juma would like to do the same.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a wet and rainy Juma, where the rain fell for a very long time last night. And as you can see, I'm going through a little bit of a puddle. My name is Steve. Welcome to a Valentine's Day safari in the morning, and BK is on camera with me. What a beautiful day. I'm sure the other two gentlemen have told you how to get hold of us. Hashtag SafariLive. Let us know what you'd like to see, what you'd like to talk about. Well, last night, Tlalamba took that little kill up the tree. We're going to slowly make our way there and have a look at the ground, see if the ground is very wet. If it is, well, we're not going to go off-road. But we've come into quarantine. We found some lion tracks. They've been hunting wildebeest. The wildebeest have been running in that direction. We just turned around to go back to camp to sort out some audio issues, but it seems we are back on track. So now we're going to pick up on the tracks of these lions. They're heading towards Vuyatela watering hole. So any of you, let me know if you've seen them on the dam cam. That would be very helpful. But it is pitch black out here. The clouds are overcast. It is dark. And the poor wildebeest were running. Well, maybe the lions caught them. It seems to be a group of males, but I just saw two tracks. So it could be the Nkuhuma pride that's come onto Vuyatela. It could be the Avoca males from the north. We don't know. We do not know, but we're going to head down the road. I'll show you in a moment, actually, some wildebeest tracks on the road here of where they were running. And it's a very good indication that lions have been around when you see animals running in the sand. A wildebeest has obviously got a nice closed hoof, and when they're running, their hoof splays open like that. So I'm just going to find it for you. We left it over here a little while ago with a lion track. And we know, well, looking at the impala that we've seen on this open area, they're looking very, very jumpy indeed this morning. So just over my shoulder, you'll be able to see some lion tracks. We are in IR. There you can see the lion tracks over there. Okay, so in one more moment, I'm going to show you those wildebeest tracks, and then we're going to jump over to James in the tent. But if you just give me one moment, I'm going to move forward, BK. We're going to show those wildebeest tracks. They're running all splayed in the sand. Let me just show you 1 second, everybody. Bear with me. Here we go. There they are. Those messes in the sand right over there where the light is. Down, BK, over here. Over here. There we go. You can see that disturbance in the sand. It's not very clear right now. Unfortunately, it's very dark, folks. But that is a herd of wildebeest running for their lives away from a pride of lions or a couple of males. I will find out shortly. But in the meantime, let's go back over to James, who I'm sure is keeping a much drier than myself in the tent.
Yes, we are certainly keeping a lot drier, thankfully. We're sitting in the tent, and we've got something very interesting under the microscope. Faith, before it climbs out. It is, I think, a twig wilter. Now that's yeah, you've got a dung beetle first. That was from Sebastian, found it on its back and saved it. And now we have got a twig wilter, I think. So it is a bug. I know it's a bug and not a beetle, because it has got piercing mouth parts, which it has just managed to hide behind that little stalk that it's holding on to. But it's got little piercing mouth parts. And that's how you tell that it's a bug. Also just looks like the shape of a little shield bug. But it does look very similar to the ones we found on walk the other day with Paulie. And that is a twig wilter. Isn't that cool? I know it's not an adult because its wings are incomplete. When we look at the other side of this funny little creature, you can see that it doesn't have complete wings. Look at its fancy feet. Snazzy, I don't know actually. Do all animals have the same number of layers in their eyes? I seriously doubt it. I'm sure that they're all very different. I don't know much about eyes, I'm afraid. But I can't imagine that my eyes are the same as this twig wilter's. I'm not really sure that I'm sufficiently clued up to answer that question, I'm afraid. Okay, Faith, let's just link away from the microscope now, and I'm going to turn him around and show you his back, or maybe show you his colleague's back. I think that'll be better. And now, no, still can't get the back quite right. Hang on a sec. There we go. No, they keep turning over. They don't like being on their fronts, these chaps. Hang on one sec again. I think what I need to do is remove one and just use the other. I see Gathamba Gethu is wearing a red hat. Of course, when I first saw him, I couldn't see whether it was red or not because he was in black and white, and I thought he was going with the 50s gangster look, but he seems to be going with the Valentine's look, I'm assuming. Dreadful holiday. I seem I've done it by mistake with my red jacket as well. Okay, we now have the back of this gorgeous bird. Yes, apparently he put out a poll asking who is the best dressed. There is absolutely no question in my mind that he is better dressed than I am. Isn't that interesting? They don't like being on their fronts. They prefer to be on their backs. You might also be able to hear the frantic buzzing of a dung beetle that has come into this tent by mistake. Anyway, I think this is a twig wilter, and I can't tell you much more about its biology, I'm afraid. I'll have to do a bit of research on that. But a gorgeous piece of biology nevertheless. And look how well camouflaged it is on this grass. Tricoluna monachni, I think the grass is. Very nice. Diana, you're wondering about the difference between bugs and insects. Well, bugs are insects. They are an order of insects known as the Hemiptera, and that's what this is a member of. And you differentiate them from beetles by the piercing mouthparts. A beetle doesn't have piercing mouthparts. And you also differentiate them by their different life cycles. So a bug has got a hemi-metabolic life cycle, which means that the youngsters are born looking pretty much like the adults, just small versions with brief or slight modifications, whereas something like a beetle goes through a complete metamorphosis or a hollow metabolic life cycle, where it starts off as a worm or grub or larva, basically, and then eventually pupates into the adult version. And a bug has been used, obviously, in English as a generic term for any kind of creepy crawly, but it is not in fact correct. A bug is a specific order of insects known as the Hemiptera, and as I said, this one is supposed to have piercing mouthparts, which it does, but you can't really see them very nicely here. Alrighty, let's leave this fellow and go back to the best dressed man on this, the 14th of February. He's on his way down to the Sausage Tree Republic.
Oh yes, thank you, James. Yes, and no doubt about that. Well, I am in the very heartland of the Sausage Republic. And when Isaac left them yesterday, Isaac is my other colleague, he left them mobile, he left them in a motion, which meant they could have been going for a hunt. So even Isaac having sent me a pin, that is not going to help me, because if they were moving, I may also need to move. It has taken them about 1 week before they had their last meal. So the chances are either last night or maybe today they must get themselves some food. And I'm very convinced the only thing they would go for would be a Cape buffalo. I mean, these girls here have become specialists in bringing down buffaloes. And I was trying to remember yesterday and the day before, even the times of migration, when we have thousands and thousands of wildebeest around here. I mean, once in a while, out of 5 kills, I would say, 1 kill would be from a buffalo. It's very easy to bring down a wildebeest, but I would still notice out of 5 kills, they would still go for a buffalo, which means either they have perfected that art, which is very good, knowing that the wildebeests are here only for a season, and then they go. So what I did yesterday for us to find them, we were looking for buffaloes. When we looked for them and we couldn't see them in the last few days because the grass is very high, we have learned now a trick, me and Isaac, and of course Archie. We look where the buffaloes are and we zero in from that particular area. And yesterday I told Archie, you see those buffaloes there? Let's go there. And you never know they could be there. We looked, and as we were just giving up and turning around, Archie told me, I can see something from a distance that looks from, like a lion, but just too far. Get your binos out. And yes, that turned out to be one of the females of the sausage bride. So from where they were yesterday, where Isaac left them, and where those buffaloes are, we want to piece that those two points together, and hopefully we are going to see them this morning. Still rather cold. The temperatures haven't gotten any better, but the good news is the light is coming out very quickly, and I might be putting down my spotlight. And a very good question you're asking, how large is the park? Now, the main Masai Mara, the greater Masai Mara, is about 1,500 square kilometers. But the Mara Triangle, Andy, is 510 square kilometers. So, Andy, I'm sure you have heard us many times, or you heard me in the morning, or rather earlier when we were opening the show from the Mara, me talking of the Mara Triangle. So the Mara Triangle, the 510 square kilometers, has 3 boundaries, as the name suggests, of a triangle. And one side will be showing you when we have enough light is what we call the Olololo escarpment. And another side of the Mara Triangle Game Reserve is the Mara River. And the other side is the boundary between Kenya and Tanzania, which borders the Mara Triangle Game Reserve and the Serengeti National Park. Now, my guess is this is the last position that Isaac left those lions last night. So I'll just have to slow down, start looking. Daniel, how are you today? And you're asking whether we are going to see baby elephants today. I mean, that's a very good question, because it eases me the pressure of getting the lions. You know, like the last 1 week we missed them. I'll tell you, Daniel, they were still here. They didn't go anywhere. They were still here. But where they were, because of the grass, we could not see them. But Daniel, elephants, whoo, that's a piece of cake. So at least thank you for giving me some homework. If I see the lions, I'll still get you some elephants. And if I don't see the lions, chances are I'll get you the elephants, and most likely get you baby elephants. I mean, even with the tall grass, we do not suffer sporting lions from long distances. So Daniel, remain on board, and who knows? Elephants can almost promise 80% we'll see them. Now, very good. This is the place to slow down. And also, one other thing we do, even if we don't see them with the eyes, we can always switch off the car and we just listen for any calls. And as carry on to look for the sausages, why don't we go to the Volvo in Juma?
Thanks, David, in your red attire. We have found the tracks, and it definitely appears to be a pride of lions. They missed the wildebeest on quarantine there, and I'm just having a little look. They've come down, it's a Philemon's dip there, and I've lost their tracks now, but they've either gone through the drainage there, or they've gone straight down the road here, seemingly not that way. So let's go across this Philemon's cut line off to our right-hand side. It's a very popular route for them to go through. So let's just head along there and see if we can find any more of their tracks coming through. If they have gone that way, they generally cross out in our southwestern sort of corner. So judging by the fact that there's more than one, and there's some youngsters, or should I say females, it's definitely a pride. We often find two males or young males with the onkuhumas. That's why I was a bit unsure of the tracks before. But now, most certainly, it is a pride of lions. So, where are they going to be this morning? Are we going to find them on a kill? Are they just somewhere in here and we've missed them? Well, it is still very dark. They could be moving. They could still be hunting. Or they could already have their bellies full. We don't know what time they were hunting these wildebeest. But by the fact that the impala are looking very, very jumpy, there's a good chance that they're not very far away. Capel, why am I not dressed for Valentine's Day? Capel, you know, I don't own anything red. Nothing. I used all my red stuff at Christmas and it's gone now. It wasn't mine. So I do apologize for not having the amazing Valentine's spirit that David's got. But I'm going to try and find you some lions. How does that work? Does that work for you, Capel? I hope so. Okay, well, I'm just going to keep going along this road. There's no tracks coming through. So either the lions have stopped in the drainage there. Maybe they killed something. But we're just going to do a little loop to make sure that they haven't moved across. Because sometimes they do. They come straight across this way. And then they go out. Ooh, let's listen. What was that? Nope. So the impala on quarantine were jumpy, and we went down to Vuetela watering hole, and there was huge numbers of antelope down that side. So all the animals ran downhill from the lions, and they were all standing in a nice big group close to the watering hole and along towards Wahlberg Nest. Very, very uncomfortable. So very good chance that this happened very soon. Child of the universe, you want to know what the most... Okay, so there's a male lion track, but that is before the rain. You want to know what is the most romantic animal in Juma? Well, I don't know. I really don't know. Okay, so these lions came in before it rained. So these lions came in yesterday evening from the east, or should I say from the west. It's definitely not lions. Lions are not the most romantic. That I can tell you 100% certain. Okay, so just to give you an example, did you see those tracks before? You could clearly see that they were quite fresh. Here, we've got lion tracks before the rain. Can you see those, BK? Or was the pole in the way? Right over here. You can see that those moved. Those came in. It might be quite hard for you to see with this light, but the fact that the track is very wet and the track is damaged from the rain indicates that these animals came in probably while it was raining. While it was raining, That's why there's an indentation, and then it's rained on top of it. The tracks we were following just now are quite fresh, almost like what our tire tracks are leaving, just a bit of disturbance on the moist soil. So they came in from the west, and, well, I'm going to go back to Philemon's dip there to see if I can find out where they go. And I'm going to really give it some thought about what the most romantic animal in Djuma is. It's definitely not the cuckoos. That's for sure. The cuckoos are not romantic because don't have a single parental bond in their body, a parental bone in their body. They just want to have babies and not look after them, which I don't think is very romantic at all. Okay, so this appears to be the Nkuhuma Pride. Hopefully we're going to find them. But I'm no doubt James Hendry himself knows who the most romantic organism out here might be. But thinking about it, we have them flying around. They are termite alates. Can you see these little alates flying around? They're just flying in front of the car here. Maybe not very easy to capture on camera, but the termites have come out. Here we go. And they will go out onto what we call a nuptial flight. The male and female kings and queens will fly out. They have to fly, and then they'll land, drop their wings, and the male can actually track the female for a kilometer or so, and then they'll meet mate. Because the ground's soft, be able to dig down and then start a new colony. So I think that's rather romantic. I'm going to go with termite. But let's go to James and see what his thoughts are.
Righty, so I'm definitely not the most romantic animal at Djuma, that much I know. I suppose the most romantic animal at Djuma must go to one of the bird species. I'm not sure which bird species would be considered the most romantic at Djuma. We've got the Wahlberg's eagles. Any of those monogamous birds, I suppose, could be considered romantic. What is the definition of romance? Which birds bring their lovers gifts, for example? And there are a number of bird species that will bring food to a prospective mate. I think the woodland kingfishers do that. The saddle-billed storks do that. They bring gifts every so often. They help build the house. The male builds a home, so maybe the saddle-billed storks could be considered romantic. The weavers, building a home for a prospective lover can't be considered anything short of romantic insanity. And, well, they do that every single year, so perhaps it is the weavers. I can't think of any insects that are necessarily very romantic. The male rain frog is quite romantic. I watched a male rain frog today having a very rough time. He is unable to clasp the female because she is so much bigger than he is, and so he must glue himself to her back end during the mating process. And while she is definitely not very romantic, she walks around while he is stuck on the back of her. It's quite amusing to watch. He certainly looks to be a romantic creature. I'm not sure he takes her a gift, though. So let's take gift-giving in order to encourage the female to mate as a romantic gesture, and therefore I think we must definitely go for the birds. Many of them, of course, will take gifts and build homes for their prospective mates. The hornbills being another good example of birds that bring gifts and build homes for their mates. Yes, I think that's what it is. Good, one of the birds. Yes, Arbia, as I was just saying, the weavers are most certainly romantic because they build a house every year. Now, one of the things that isn't very romantic is, of course, the thrip. And I was looking for a couple of thrips on this Waltheria indica plant over here, the plant that keeps on giving. I haven't managed to find a thrip, but some of you will have been around when I found the first thrip, and you all identified it for me. I had no idea what it was. And it's a funny, almost nondescript insect of either black or sort of goldy colour, and they often live on these Waltheria plants. And out here, well, they just go about their lives fairly innocuously, but in places where agriculture is a big deal, they're a bit of a disaster, these thrips. Apparently they can cause agricultural disease, and they can be real pests. Let me see if I can find you a thrip. It's so cold for them at the moment. I mean, it's not cold for us, but it's pretty cold for them. So you might find that they're all tucked away inside this Waltheria plant. I find with these Waltherias, if you look at them for long enough, something new always comes out. Let's just have a quick look at the flower there. Let me reduce our exposure slightly. Ideally we want this on a white background. But there you can see the top dorsal view of a flower. They're very nondescript flowers. Let's just keep going along the leaf here and see if we don't get lucky with a thrip. I'm also being savaged by a termite alate that seems to have taken a fancy to me. No thrips as yet. CJ, I don't think they feel heat from the microscope, no, because it's an LED light, so it's a cold light. But what I do think they feel is the heat from my hands and from my, well, breathing in their vicinity. And they definitely, there we go, good morning. That's not a thrip though, that's an ant, I think, a flying ant. Ha! You look long enough, something will crawl out. Yeah, that's an ant. So what's interesting is that if you look at these things for long enough, the heat of their proximity to us definitely makes the insects active and they start to move around. So for example, that bug which I showed you earlier, which I'm pretty sure now, having looked in the book, is not a twig wilter, but quite possibly a shield-backed bug. Try and say that 100 times early in the morning. They were completely inert for about a minute after I put them under the microscope. Then they started to move around quite a lot. There was another thing in here. Not sure if you can see it there. Let me fire up some light. There, look at that. And you see that thing in the middle there? I'm pretty sure that that is an insect of some description that is trying, sorry about this microscope gets stuck sometimes. There we go. I think that's a bug with a piercing mouth part. Or maybe an aphid. Haha, how cool is that? Ryan, some ants have wings because they are breeding ants, much the same as breeding termites, although they're not related at all. So flying ants will go off and make new colonies. So royals, male and female ants, will go off and make new colonies of ants. I'm 99% sure that's what we were looking at there. The most famous example is a red driver ant. Oh my goodness, look at this creature. I wonder if I can get him. Faith, I want you to link away from the microscope, please, so that I can capture this thing and see if I can put him on the microscope. There we go. This looks like a water strider. It is a water strider, almost certainly. Look at that, a water boatman. How beautiful is that? Yeah. That is magic. So it's got wings, you can see that. And so it's been attracted by the light here. But it is very clearly a water strider with its oars. Can you see its oars there? That helps it to slide along the water. And most likely on its back. And you can see how its back is shaped like a keel. Oh, and gone. Right, well that was interesting. I wonder where it went. So they clearly can fly quite well. Okay. That's very cool. Oh, no, there it is. Let's have a look at its face. I found it again. No, now I've pulled the microscope out and I have no picture from it. Oh, that is very painful. Very painful indeed, everybody. Pain in my heart. Come on. No. No, that's going to take a bit of work to fix. How deeply irksome. Okay, never mind. We'll fix the microscope. And while we do that, let's go up across to David, who is finally, hopefully, got some sun on his bright red hat.
Very good. You need to use some microscope, James, to look at those small things. But here I'm using the naked eyes to see very big things. Well, these are the buffaloes I was talking about earlier. And once you get to this area we are in, we'll always try and search for lions using these buffaloes. Now, you can tell the grass is quite high because, see, those buffaloes are almost disappearing or being covered by that sea of grass. And I'm talking of the red oat grass. And that shows you how high it might get by the time we get the long rains, maybe the next few weeks. Now, these buffaloes have not told me anything, and I'm trying to look or read their body language. It doesn't show me any concern or worries. But then what I need to do is just to search around where they are, because these are the same buffaloes I think Isaac saw last night. Isaac is my colleague, and chances are those lions could have tried to bring one down. If they did, then it's definitely not very far from here. So we just need now to move on and keep looking in the grass, and not for any vultures, because it will be definitely too early for any vultures to have picked up the kill, and of course not for any hyenas. It's still very fresh if that kill was last night. So we need to look so closely in the grass and look for any movement of these lions. Daybreak has come. I have put my spotlight down, which is very good news. Not sure why, but I like using my naked eyes to spot for game, as much as the spotlight will always help us to pick the glaring eyes in the grass or in the thickets. I'll be very happy Minamu, how are you? And always a pleasure to hear your name. Now, lions have so many ways of getting their food, but ideally the first thing, like most predators will do, is sight. They need to look. That's the first thing they'll always do. In general, as much as sometimes they might listen if, you know, they would hear either buffaloes bellowing or zebras or any other type of prey, but the first thing most animals or most predators will do is to use their eyes. And that's why every once in a while, like yesterday, if Minamu, you were watching those lions with Isaac, they'd move, stop, and you see them looking. You've seen cheetahs, Minamu, as much as your question is about lions going on termite mounds, and the reason for that is because they need to see. But once in a while, you can also see them smelling. But I would say number one, or most important, it's more of sight than smell, Minamu. All right, this is the area I would just feel not very far from where a kill should have happened last night, if any. And then, of course, if not, they might have retreated to their thickets to keep their cubs warm. I'm sure all of us are very excited to hear the news of Kingtail with her cubs, who until now, she hasn't brought them out. I'm not worried it would happen. It's very normal. But I think from the day we think she dropped them, now we're going to 2 weeks. 2 weeks is getting a bit stretched for a lioness that is very experienced, like Kingtail, not have brought her cubs out. I mean, Mitty, one of the other members of that pride, brought her cubs out very quickly. So I think all so far so good. We just need to keep crossing our fingers and hoping that she will bring them out pretty soon. When are you asking about other lions that you have? The Mara Triangle has over 10 prides of lions, and on the escarpment, I think it's only the Olololos which tend to hang around that area, and also below the escarpment also, there is another pride that we call the Owinos. So along the escarpment, I would say that area or that particular territory is owned by the Olololos, but then as you finish the edge of the escarpment, or between the escarpment and the Sausage Republic, we have another pride that we call the Owinos. So what should happen is, wow, I saw an elephant from a distance, and the camp we stay in is just at the very top of the Ololo escarpment. Ololo escarpment is about, 30-40 kilometers long, and that's where our camp is. From our camp, we'll always see the Mara Triangle down there, so beautifully looking. And for the last 3 weeks, we have had lions coming literally through our tents at night. And from the dam we get our water from, which is about 200 meters away from where we live, one of the males that we call the Kicho males brought down a water buck right there. So we have our washrooms outside the tent, and we agreed once we go to bed after 10 o'clock, don't come out. And if you come out, don't come out on your own, because anything could go wrong. So even now, we always hear lions calling at night right from the camp. And I think Daniel was talking about watching an elephant, and maybe this may not help because you wanted to see a calf elephant or a baby elephant, but this is not a bad start, Daniel, and I hope you're still watching. And I'm guessing that must be a bull. Thank you, Faith. He says, it's very nice. Faith is in the final control. And as part of the escarpment that you see, the direction that elephant is going. Thank you, Archie. So our camp is like at the very top of that escarpment. You can imagine. And you see lions climbing all the way to that escarpment and coming over. Because when the rains started, we saw most of the herbivores and more so zebras coming out of the park because it got very waterlogged and they came in that area. Of course, the water, when it rains there, it will get washed and it will not be wet. So we have seen most herbivores preferring to come there. And apart from the zebras, waterbucks have done the same, elands have done the same, and ideally the predators and more so the lions will follow them in the same area. So our camp being right there, we hear them calling at night. And have been very careful to come out. But I'll tell you, when it comes to coming out at night, I have a very nice big torch, a Maglite torch that I use to come out. And a few times I've met Archie outside, either going to the washroom. Archie is my cameraman today, and without a torch, And I don't know how he survived, but he says he sees better in the darkness than during the day. And that scares me a little bit. And I've given him a few warnings every time. Don't do that, Archie, because if anything goes wrong, I will not have a camera operator the following day. We got some hartebeests to the left there. I think they're just jogging. I don't know why they're running. And actually see those hartebeests in the grass there. Thank you for pointing them out to me. They're just sprinting, running up and down. I'm not sure they have any reason to run. Not that I would guess any predator is following them. Sausages, ideally, or the sausage pride, will not be bothered to bring down, hartebeest. And most lions will not. I mean, lions being so social, living in big groups. So a one or, hartebeest will not be a bother to be brought down by so many lions. They don't want to bring down maybe something big, a big animal. So this is just, I think they're just sprinting, exercising, and just feeling good for the morning. Or maybe just celebrating they survived the night. Every time we see these hartebeests, we always mistake them for lions from a distance. And I've always believed an animal of this size or prey of this size, these ones are the fastest animals. See how strong? Dun, 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 saying happy Valentine ourselves, happy Valentine to everybody. And I don't want to follow them. I want to look for lions. Let's find out whether Steve is winning or how his trucks are going.
Thanks, David. Well, we've gone around the block. We found where the tracks of the lions were going. I think we've lost them in the drainage. We're coming around, and on our way around, we found what seems to be tracks of Thandi in the mud. Also walking.
Sorry about that, everybody. We were watching Steve talking about... Oh, well, you're going to hear myself now. Watching him talking about a piece of dirt there, but apparently that things are broken that side. Sorry about that. Things are broken here as well. You can see that the microscope is now flashing on and off, which is probably going to result in me throwing something fairly soon out of the tent, because things are not working the way they should, which drives me stark raving insane. Now, I have a job for the botanists amongst you, and that is to identify a plant that I cannot identify. I have seen it many times here. Please work. Never mind. So, it's a nondescript plant that I was going to put under the microscope. It's back. It's got sort of very nondescript white flowers with a bit of green on them. There we go. I don't even have to touch the microscope. And I don't know what it is. The closest I could come was something called a upright starbur. Oh, it's gone. Let's take it out of the microscope. The microscope's not working. An upright starbur, but the leaves are wrong, and I don't think that's what it is. Let me show you the full bush. Let's just start here. Sebastian. Sorry about that. We've got Polly and Trishala with us here. They'll be taking over sometime soon, and so I thought, so if you do see them, that's what's going on. Where is the plant that I took it off? It was around here somewhere. Here. Are you able to make it out here, yeah, Sebastian? Fine. It is still drizzling, but Sebastian will manage. He will make it through this tough time. Here is this quite attractive yet nondescript plant. So it's got sort of greenish, whitish flowers. And I thought maybe I'd identified it with the upright starbur, but it is not. So any help? Greatly appreciated. Now also I wanted to do a little test for Judy H. She, I wouldn't say took me to task, but asked about the difference between Trachyandra aspirata, which is one of those white flowers that we find around here, quite common this time of year, and another genus which looks almost entirely identical, but for different nodes that occur way down below the flower. And so I'm going to try and find those for you, Judy, today, and see if I haven't forgotten, in case you thought I had, and try and find if we are in fact looking at Trachyandra or the other genus whose name I naturally can't remember. Yes, Sarah, I am looking at a bush, looking for a bush in the middle of the bush. We do a lot of looking for bushes in the middle of the bush. That's how it works out here generally. Okay, what else do we have out here? I wasn't exactly prepared for this segment, I'm afraid, but that's all right. Let's take a piece of this Schmidtia paperophoides grass here and take it back inside and have a look at that under the microscope, see if it's working again. If it isn't, what I will do is send Polly back to the final control with one of these bones to attack Marcel the tech fellow. Polly, please stop sitting there like a gangster. Thank you. Grumpy old man, yes, I have indeed tried to turn it on and off again. You know, the youth of today and their need to look like hoodlums. My favourite is the current tradition of wearing pants that don't go up past the midway of your bottom. I don't really understand why you would wear pants so that you can show off your bottom. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. That and hoods. Anyway, I think many of the youth have this idea that they should be invisible to cameras and things, so that should they wish to become bank robbers one day, there's no record of their existence. I don't know. All quite difficult to tell. Oh no, it's gone off again. No, it's back. Anyway, that's Schmidia paperophoides, and there doesn't appear to be anything particularly fascinating on it. Certainly nothing quite as fascinating as the youthful fashion of wearing pants that only go halfway up your backside. Absolutely bizarre. I suppose there were things I did in my youth that somewhat more adult people thought were odd as well. Okay, let's go back to David. He's now got some sunrise, and hopefully Steve will have some signal a bit later. I'm going to throw this microscope in the bin.
Thank you so much. Yes, I have given myself a little bit of a break, and then know where to start on round 2 to search for the sausage tree, the Pride of Lions that I really love, and thought let's watch a bit of sunrise and see what Archie can do. Archie is the cameraman today with me, and how beautiful is that? Who not love to see a sunrise, and especially from Africa? The huge tree there is a type of a fig tree. We've got so many types of fig trees in Africa. And look at the ball of sun there, trying to show the beauty of the Mara. All the other trees there could be, most of them could be the magic ngware, a bit of tortured trees, but most of them, I guess, are the magic ngware trees on that small little hill there, which is just one very popular spot with the sausage lions. Beautiful eastern horizon. Megan, that's a great comment, and you say that's quite romantic, and yes, absolutely, that fits today, being a Valentine Day. So thank you, Megan. To you, Megan, happy Valentine, and thank you for appreciating how we're trying to make Valentine look very colorful all over the world. We couldn't ask for better colors on a Valentine Day, and for a better sunrise like this one here. Just wish I could quickly run there and paint some red in that ball, or through a dot, or sprinkle some red color on the circumference of that ball. But ideally, it's showing how romantic it is today. Don't want to discuss those colors. I think the best thing is just for us to see them, digest them, and yes, say, yeah, thank you, Africa, for giving us such a romantic morning. And Faith in the final control also agrees it's pretty beautiful, and I'm sure she's in the office not seeing any sunrise. Sorry for that. But if you can, I'm sure you can also get a few screenshots of that, and they'll remind you of the sunrise on the Valentine Day from the Mara Triangle. Obobungali says, wow, that sun is huge, yes. And I'm not sure where I got this from, but there's a friend of mine who told me anything or everything in Africa is big. I mean, the sun remains the same all over the world. I mean, you know, the eastern horizon is the same, the western horizon. Fig trees are fig trees, but I don't remember whether I got this from Tanzania sometimes back. And a friend of mine told me he had, you know, guests who told him that everything in Africa is big, you know. Talk of elephants, talk of trees, talk of land, talk of, I don't know what that meant, lions, talk of the animals that we have here, comparing to, say, the elephants, comparing to the Asian elephants, rhinos and other, you know, Asian rhinos. Or, you know, he said everything in Africa is just huge. So, Bomogal, I wouldn't blame you to say that sun is big, but I would say it's the same standard sun all over the world. But the fig tree must be huge. Cross-Stretch, you're asking, do the fig trees have fig on them? Not at the moment, but we would hope to be getting them sometimes in June. At the moment, they do not have any, but if you look at them carefully, you'll see some small flowers coming up, which would indicate that you might be getting some fig fruit pretty soon. But I'm talking about maybe May, June. And they're very popular, those fig trees. Wow, very good work there, Archie. They're very popular with most animals, and especially the baboons. You'll see them climbing those trees, and they love eating them. At the moment, nothing, but maybe come May, June, we might be seeing some fig trees on them. All right, time to move. Good light, and I have no reason not to see those lions. It was a time like now yesterday when I passed the sausages 20 meters from where they were lying in the grass, but I couldn't see them. And after driving for 3-4 kilometers, Archie told me, turn around for the lions. And I thought that was very nice of him. So hopefully, Archie, you're going to repeat what you did yesterday. I'm counting on you, eh? Perfect flights. And Daniel, don't forget, I have not forgotten you for the elephant. So we saw the big gentleman there. We'll be looking for a herd of elephants at one point. And I'm sure in a herd, we are not going to miss a calf on this Valentine's Day. So what you'll do, assuming they didn't catch anything last night, the lions, chances are because they have small calves, they must have gone back maybe in the den, the places where they can keep the calves warm. So what they'll first do is to go to any area I would think they must have spent the night, but then still come back out in this tall grass, stop, look for them flicking their tails or for them jumping around. Of course, they'll have every reason to celebrate if they would have made the kill. I think now Steve is sorted on his issues that he had earlier, technical issues. Let's find out whether he is winning on the Nkumas.
Good morning again, everybody. Well, the lion tracks have not come out of this block on our right-hand side. The wildebeest tracks came out now, and they were walking much slower. So either the whole family of wildebeest has evaded the lions and they're lying down, or they've caught something. I've just got view of a waterbuck there looking quite intently. Just going to try position for you here, BK. You see him just over my shoulder there. You should be able to get him now. Just trying to see. Animals are often an awesome way of seeing or finding animals out here in the bush. A new camera, BK. The zoom's a little bit different on this guy. There we go. He's looking rather relaxed though, which means that the wildebeest we had running, the way he's looking, they were coming from that side. So it's possible they came running from there, and he's still trying to look in that direction to see, okay, what made these guys run? We know that the Nkuhuma Pride had a waterbuck the other day when Tristan was here, but he's looking rather relaxed. I think he's still concerned as to what would have made them run, but he hasn't quite seen anything yet. So I'm going to go back around to that side and see if maybe we can find the lions in that drainage, or maybe on the other side of the road. They definitely haven't come out south, southwest, or southeast, so there's a very good chance that they are still around. Very good. I hope we're going to find them this morning, and then I'm going to ascertain whether it's good to drive off-road. Joe, his bottom does look like a bullseye. There's a lot of thoughts about why do they have the white ring on the bottom, and the main one, the dominant sort of thought that comes about, is that it's a follow me sign. Because if everybody follows him, there's a good chance that the guy at the back will get caught and not him. So these follow me signals have evolved in many of our herbivore animals. And the waterbuck, as the name implies, is normally found in quite an aquatic sort of environment. And so the aquatic environment, the vegetation is quite vertical. So a round signal stands out much better than a square or a line. Like you find the kudu, they lift their tail, it's white underneath. Impala have got marks on them. Giraffe have got white marks on the back of the ear. The warthog sticks its tail. These are all sort of potentially follow me signs, so the animals stay together, because herding animals are much safer than individuals on their own. So we had the lions coming down here. This is Philemon's Dip, and then they turned in onto Ingwe Alley, and just up here is where I got the last track of them. So it's possible they were hunting and they're actually on this side of the road now, because what happened is the wildebeest came through onto this road, went to the end, and then at some point they turned back around and cut in that direction. So maybe let me explain that for you a little bit better with the use of a map. Oopsie. Because when you use a map, it makes it a little bit easier to understand where the animals will potentially come out. Sorry, that is Hukumuri's route from the other day. Let me just wipe that off. Sorry about that. Okay, so here we found the tracks in quarantine here, and they were hunting. The wildebeest ran down this way, and then they cut down. And then the lion tracks came down Philemon's Dip, and they've turned into Ingwe Alley, which is not visible on the map. Turned in there, the wildebeest came down, turned around here, and then came back that way. So the lions are somewhere, I'm going to say, in here. We had Tandi's track just over there, but it's going to be very tricky to follow her. I'm hoping Rexon comes out shortly, but I'm guessing the lions are somewhere in here, and we'll ascertain, once we find them, of course, if we can indeed drive off-road in this area. It is a bit of a crest here, so the soil's going to be quite nice and sandy, but we don't want to cause any environmental damage just for the sake of looking at a lion, if you know what I mean. But it would be nice to know where they are anyway. But for all I know, they might actually still be moving, and all this looping I'm doing, they could be popping out already. But at least if we don't find them in the block and we do another loop and they walk on top of my tracks, then at least we can tell the freshness, can't we? Very good. I am feeling it in my tummy today that we are going to find these lions, but they are probably, I'm guessing they're probably in this block, and they probably caught something. So every now and again, we're just going to move up, switch off, listen, move up, switch off, listen, because there was only one young lioness coming along this road, and she was running. She was running. There we go. Here are her tracks running. I'll just jump out to show it to you, and then I'm going to link you back over to Maluma James. Here is her foot in the sand, running at speed. You can actually see you're not getting the whole track, you're just getting the toes. And there she is, there she is. Look at that distance between here and here. That is a lion at a fast run. So either it's right after a wildebeest, or she heard something and she's running in to join. When lions catch something, everyone gets excited, just running in. And well, the poor animal never stands a chance once there's more than one lion on it. But anyway, while we continue to follow these tracks, let's go to the tent with James.
I'm just doing my sort of gangster look here. I'm not obviously going to put my pants over here, because that would just be silly. I'm going to walk like this. Look like you don't care. Okay, but I do care. Judy H., you have come through for me yet again. And what we have here is Agathancinium bojeri. I think that's how you'd say it. Agathancinium bojeri. Say that a couple of times quickly. Agathancinium bojeri. And this Agathancinium bojeri plant has got a grasshopper on it. Here it is, a young grasshopper without wings. Isn't that gorgeous? Oh. Unfortunately, Sebastian, basically you almost made it eat that camera, and so it decided it didn't want to be part of the show anymore. Agathancinium bojeri. We would show it to you under the microscope. Unfortunately, we cannot do the microscope, and right now the Marcel, our tech fellow, is, well, he's nursing a wound on his forehead because I set to him with an elephant bone. Let's pick this chap up. Agathancinium bojeri. Of course, I will forget that by tomorrow, which is unfortunate. Agathancinium Bowderi. He really doesn't like you, Seb. Here he is. Here we go. No. See how cleverly he is coloured like grass and dry stalk. So he's very well camouflaged. Very good. Let's have one last look at Agathancinium Bowderi, and then we shall probably return to the tent. See what else we can find over there. I'm sorry that there doesn't seem to be much in the way of predators around here at Djuma at the moment, but that is on account of the weather, I suspect. Right. I think let's go back inside. See if we can't find something there. I'm just trying to help Sebastian with his wires. Agathancinium Bowderi, Agathancinium Bowderi. Do we have any luck yet with the microscope? No, we don't. Oh, Jerry, we can actually, and they are back. Jerry in the final control room. Many of you will know Jerry. Certainly, if you don't know her personally, you'll know her by, well, by mention, if you like. She's wanting to know about George and Sarah, who are, of course, the two stingless bees who began this colony. Now, a little while back, we thought that they had left, and I did not believe they had left, of course, because I have seen their tunnel destroyed and rebuilt many, many times. And there you can see their tunnel has been rebuilt. George and Sarah, for those of you who don't know, are stingless bees that live in this giraffe skull. Now, there are, in fact, hundreds of them living in this giraffe skull. I don't actually know who the original George and Sarah were, but they've rebuilt their little, well, wax tunnel, if you like. And on a hot day, next to this giraffe skull, you will find hundreds and hundreds of stingless bees on the grasses all around, and they swarm in and out of this nest. But on a cool day like today, you can't really get them out unless you try and heat them up a bit. Hang on. That sometimes brings a bit of life. No, they're not coming out at the moment. Anyway, we'll try and get the microscope fixed and working, and then we'll have a look at them through that. Let's go back across the Masimara, where David has got some actual animals for you.
Well, we have a herd of elephants here, and this could be the very last one before they disappear in the bushes. And there were two very small babies there that I hoped to show Daniel, and they just sneaked in there, and hopefully they might come out of that forest on the other side. So I might go around that forest and maybe keep my word to Daniel. Daniel had promised you to show you some Ellis, but they just disappeared in there. Nothing to worry. We have lots of Ellis in the Mara, so I'll just back up now and back to the road and see if I go around the other side, if I'll be lucky to see them again. Okay, but the lighting was very good, it's still very good. And as I said, the beauty of the Mara, lots of game here. So let's go around. And I've not been lucky yet to see my lions, the sausages, but I still have a lot of time to look around, and hopefully I'll be able to see them. I'm very convinced they most likely have gotten a kill yesterday, and if they did, that would be very good news. Actually, do you think this is an interesting bird to look at? 12 o'clock? Just calling there. Look at that bird there. This is called the yellow-throated longclaw, and listen to the call. How lovely. Very good. I'm not sure whether that's the territorial call or a mating call. Let's call it a mating call and definitely say, Happy Valentine, my partner, wherever you are. Happy Valentine. Happy Valentine. I usually wonder how these birds get their names because, I mean, this bird is pretty small in size as far as I'm concerned, but she got a very long name, you know, yellow-throated long claw. You know, quite unfair. Look at an eagle, you know, big eagles, like the martial eagle, you know, the largest eagles we got in Africa. Simple name, martial eagle. Carol, thank you very much. You love that call. Very good, Carol. And maybe, Carol, you might agree with me. She's just saying Happy Valentine because she has been calling for quite some time. I do not know who she is calling and where she is or where he is, but I think the message is today's Valentine. Where is my Valentine? Thank you, Carol. Jamie, you call them very relaxed there. That's very good to know. And hopefully they behave the same there, especially when it comes to calling. Thank you, Jamie. When you see them on the ground, they got very long claws. Maybe that's one of the reasons why they were given that claw, or rather that name, and they use their claws maybe to dig for worms and stuff like that under the ground, I would guess. So good, enjoying that call. Ooh, that is another big bird, and that's the white-browed cuckoo. Very well done, Archie. White-browed cuckoo. Are you going to make some lovely noise for us and so that you can compete with the yellow-throated longclaw? Gal, we got two calls here. One was from that yellow-throated longclaw, and the other one that we just had, I'm sure you maybe heard it. It was from this particular bird here that we call the white-browed cuckoo. And what I might try to do, Indigo Gal, is maybe to play you her call and find out. And you're going to let me know whether that's what you had. Let me get the cuckoo. And you might tell me whether that's what you had. And let's go. Slick. Well, I hope that's what Indigo Girl you had, and happy Valentine to you. And if that's what you had, always a pleasure to hear your name. That was the call from that particular bird that you call the white-browed cuckoo. It's like how you empty a bottle of water. Dash, I would agree with you asking, it looks scruffy, is it fledgling? I think it's just about to align its feathers. It's early morning, and what maybe she is doing, she's just trying to warm up, because it has been cold, that's just my guess. Or it could be a youngster, because it's like fluffy all over, even including the head, Dash. If you look at it, including all the head. And of course, if it was cold, I would imagine she would have been curled up just to keep her body warmth. I would guess maybe it could be a youngster, and being a youngster fledgling, you know, she is not cold at all. But yeah, that's a very good question, I would say. Yeah, if it was cold, I would imagine all the feathers would be, you know, aligned to the body, very close to the body, curled up, but they are all out. Thank you, Indigo Girl, for the feedback. That's the call you had. Excellent. You know, Indigo Girl, next time, or when you get a bottle of water, and you just try to, you know, get it out of the bottle, the sound you hear is very similar to that. In fact, we have given these birds, or the other name for them is, bottled water birds, because they sound the same, like when you empty water from a bottle. Kind of water bottle birds. It's trying to align her feathers now and making sure that all looks in good shape. The feathers look very fluffy, like of an ostrich. Ostriches are birds that have always noticed their feathers being very fluffy. And see, all of a sudden, everything seemed to be streamlined at the moment, eh? And that was a very quick change, eh? Where you would imagine they would go in stages, starting from the primary feathers to the secondary feathers, slowly putting them in place. But like it was like a reflex, like she just touched a button and all the feathers went back where they belong. How wonderful is that? Very unusual to see them in twos. In general, you see them being solitary, and then you'll see them sometimes jumping out, either looking for insects or seeds to feed on. Anna Marie, I want to agree with you, Anna Marie. You'd like to see a carmine bee eater, because I was talking earlier to Archie and we were wondering what bird would fit to be looking like a bird that's on a Valentine Day. Initially, I had said Roses Turako, but Anna Marie, thank you for reminding me of the carmine bee eater, because the carmine bee eater, I think it could be very lovely when it comes to thinking of Valentine. Now, let me see if I can get it on my phone. And Archie, if you come here, I think all of you would see what Anna Marie is talking about when it comes to beauty and when it comes to the colors of Valentine. So I think, Anna Marie, my Rose Turako, I think you have knocked it out. And that's the Northern Common Bee Eater. And Anna Marie, hopefully I could see it. Here we basically see the Southern Common Bee Eater. We've got two types of them. We have the Northern and you have the Southern. And yes, Faith also agree. Those could be wonderful colors for the Valentine. Let me very quickly, so they can get, sorry about that. If I could very quickly get the Roses Turako that I thought could be the best for Valentine. I could be wrong. Now, okay, Roses Turako, where are you? Okay, maybe not, but I don't know. What do you think of that? And especially the crest. I don't know what the viewers will think. Anna Maria, I agree with you on the Carmen Bee Eater. Maybe the other viewers, what do you think also of the Roses Turako from the crest on her head? Just trying to copy the heart that I have on in terms of Valentine. Faith, did you like that too in the final control? Yes, Faith says, awesome. Hopefully I might see this. These ones we'll see them along the forest, like where we were watching those elephants earlier. And you never know. And I'm sure Faith must have seen it very close to the dam near the camp. Okay, this is now the light for the lions. And I would be thinking of the big animals that you would want to equip them with the Valentine Day. Which big mammal would have any color that would have any colors that would remind us of the Valentine? Definitely not elephants, not zebras like my boots, but as I think who that could be. James, which flowers are you talking about?
Now, we are sitting here with the flower. As promised to Judy H., I said we would try and find the difference between Trachyandra and Chlorophytum. Now, Chlorophytum, it's a sawn... What is it? Hang on a second, Judy, I'll get it. Chlorophytum... Oh, gosh, it's in your tweet. Chlorophytum saundersiae. Now, the Chlorophytums have flowers that look almost identical to this, what I have been calling Trachyandra, but might in fact be a Chlorophytum. And apparently, the difference is that in Chlorophytum, what you're supposed to find, if you can show my finger here, Seb, is a joint or articulation halfway down the flower, or halfway down the pedestal, sorry, which is the stalk that the flower's on. Now this one looks like it's got two joints, which is quite interesting. And so I'm not sure that this isn't Chlorophytum saundersiae. Saunder, named after some chap called Saunders, no doubt. Chlorophytum saundersiae. I'm just going to look it up on the interweb quickly. I think, however, no. Oh, that's very interesting. Let me find a slightly better picture. I think, Judy, that this thing has completely wrong leaves. There... But we need the plant, the actual flower. Marcel, you do realize you are on television right now, do you? He says yes. He does know. That's Marcel, everybody. He's got a frustrated need to be a presenter, and he is currently trying desperately to fix the microscope. There is a picture of Chlorophytum saundersiae. And that picture is, I think, very different leaf-wise, Judy, from the Trachyandra, or what I've been calling Trachyandra. I can't see any obvious joint, though, on the pedestal. Oops, sorry. Well, these leaves are very different. So I'm going to say that we're sitting with a Trachyandra. I stand a correction. I'm obviously no genius with botany. These ones also stand quite a long way off the ground, these Trachyandras, or what I'm calling Trachyandra. So we're going to go with Trachyandra there. No, cheeky Beth, it's not dew, it's rain. It has been raining heavily over the night and a little bit this morning, and so, no, not far from being dew and far from this being a naturally moist plant. It is, in fact, rain. So thank you very much for that, Judy. Are you satisfied that we've correctly identified this? Perhaps you are not, in which case I'm more than happy to hear from you, as always. There we go. Let's take it outside, release it to the wilderness once more. You can see that things are not brightening up a great deal out here. Paulie Clo has described the day as bleak, a little bit like his fashion sense at the moment. He's normally got quite nice fashion sense. Why he's gone with the gangster look today, I couldn't begin to tell you. Anyway, he will be on camera fairly soon, and he'll be able to explain that to you himself. In fact, the next segment will be Paulie's. Righty, I think that's all I have to tell you about anything that I'd planned to tell you, so we're going to now search together for something else. I must say, it makes it very difficult in the tent without the microscope, but we will get that up and going. That is why Marcel made his television debut today. There's quite a nice grasshopper here. A different species from the one that we had before. You see it there, Seb?
Yeah.
Isn't that wonderful? Jason, as far as I'm aware, we don't have native conifers here in South Africa. We do have native gymnospores, so we've got just gymnosperms. So we've got angiosperms, which are flowering plants, which are most of the plants that we get out here. And we do have, I think, a few gymnosperms in which, if I remember correctly from first year botany, the pine trees and other such plants exist, right? And amongst those would be the yellowwood. I think yellowwood trees are gymnosperms, if I'm not mistaken, and we get lots of different beautiful yellowwood trees here, and they are almost universally in South Africa, at least universally in South Africa. That does make sense. They are in South Africa endangered trees because, of course, they have been used for furniture. Only occur in forests or in very well-watered areas, normally where there isn't too much frost. Is that correct? Yeah, normally where there isn't too much frost. So that's where you'd find beautiful yellowwood trees, just gorgeous, huge trees that make the most beautiful furniture wood, which we don't use them for anymore, of course. And I think that they are gymnosperms in much the same way that pine trees are gymnosperms. Okay, good. Right, should we try and find something else, Sebastian, in this small area? No, nothing interesting over there. Oh, yes, I wanted to leave that for, you know, the other guy. Trichala just suggesting something found by Crawley, but I want Crawley to do the things Crawley found, because Crawley should do the things that Crawley found. Okay, let's go back across to David in the Marcy Mara. He seems to be driving looking for the sausages.
Very good. We saw some monkeys on top of a tree, and then they behaved like any typical cheeky monkeys, and they disappeared. But they were the vervet monkeys, which I thought they could be exciting to watch. Vervet monkeys, when you look at the males that are fully grown, and when they're in season, they have very interesting genitalias. You'll get their testicles becoming very big and very deep blue in color. And I thought it would have been very good to see them today on our Valentine's Day, but they just disappeared as soon as Archie had the camera on their faces, and he told them, okay, we'll see you again. Well, I have gone round to the forest I was talking about, where I saw those elephants going, and I wanted to show Daniel a baby elephant, or a calf. Hopefully I'll see them coming out on this other end. But of course, at the same time, chancing on my sausages. Yesterday I saw them, which was quite exciting. And I told my colleague Isaac where they were, and very luckily, after looking for them for about half an hour, 1 hour, he found them again. But this morning, they are playing games just like yesterday morning. Which gives me a lot of joy to know that, unlike a zoo where you usually know guaranteed this is what I'm going to see, here you have to look for the animals, and they remind us the joy of our job, and that's why we call it a game drive. You have to look around everywhere, in the trees, in the grass, finding out where any animal you're looking for that it could be. Still, my excitement cannot stop of wanting to see king-tailed cubs, which have not been out. And as I said, I'm not worried as yet, because maybe the next 2 or 3 days we shall be going to the 3rd week. The young king-tailed cubs, what normally would happen after, say, 2 weeks or so, once they open their eyes and they're mobile and they're able to move, and the mother gets guaranteed, you know, all is good, she'll want to introduce them to the cubs. But I'm looking at Mitty. Mitty Diane, I'm sure you know, is the other female in that particular pride, who introduced her cubs to the pride very early, very, very early. So Kingtail is the oldest, and we think she is very experienced. She knows her art very well. It has taken rather long, you know, for her to bring them out. And that one, personally now, I cannot understand, unless maybe the cubs have some issues that we do not know. I have no idea. But I would want to believe by now those cubs should be out. Or we have just been unlucky, because a few times we have seen Mitty Diane out with the rest of the pride without her cubs. And I'm talking about 4 or 5 times, which tells us that, of course, when that happens, Kingtail is not in the group that particular time, which tells us Mitty leaves her cubs behind, of course, with either her sister or her first cousin or her mother, Kingtail. But why Kingtail hasn't brought hers out, I do not know. You know, like you are wondering how I meet these cabs. Well, the last, I would say, 3 weeks ago, I saw 4 together out playing. They didn't have a kill. And then a week after that, I saw 3 of Metis Cup. The last time I saw them, there were only 2. And since then, I haven't seen them. My colleague Isaac didn't see them yesterday in the afternoon or in the evening. I didn't see them in the morning, but I can tell you there's no concern, there's nothing to worry. I can still say, so far so good, Hakuna Matata, and they should be being brought out today, because if yesterday they didn't get themselves some meal of a buffalo, it must be between today and tomorrow. With so many cups in the pride, nothing, I would want to believe they should get something for themselves, the mother, so they must hunt. And yesterday, from what I saw with Isaac, they had all the intent of looking for a meal. And my guess is it must have been a buffalo, or it must be buffalo they would be looking for. The grass is quite high, and let's look at a distance. She's trying to tell me to point at something. Let's see what it's pointing at. You never know. That's what we did yesterday. Oh, it's a heart mist. Very good. The heart mist always confuses many times. And earlier, you remember me saying the same? We see heart mist, and we have always called them lions, and then they turn out to be antelopes. Well, not sure whether that's the same case with Steve, with all the tracks of the Nukuhumas or not.
Welcome back, everybody. Well, I've just been off the vehicle for a little bit trying to see where these tracks have gone, and I couldn't find anything inside this block. So it's possible that they went to the other side, but obviously I'm putting a little bit of pressure on the other 2 guys. So I'm going to do one more loop here, and then I'm going to call it on the lions, and then maybe go see what Princess Talamba's up to. But I'm still not too sure about any off-road driving at the moment. There are some very, very wet places, although in these blocks, most of the places are, especially on the crests, are very sandy, and there's a good chance we won't cause any damage. But as I said, we're not going to go off-road unnecessarily. But those lions are here. They're very fresh, those tracks. Very, very fresh. So who knows if we'll find them. Rexon will be out shortly, I suppose, unless his guests are still wet from last night. And they got very, very rained upon. And maybe with his assistance and his tracker, maybe he'll be able to help us find these lions. So I'm assuming it's the Nkuhuma Pride, and wouldn't that be so awesome to see them on a Valentine's Day? Lauren, yes indeed, Tlalama killed a sort of medium-sized daker, not a fully grown one. And Rexon's guests actually captured the whole thing on camera. So it's official, she definitely killed it. They saw her do it, they were very excited, but when I got to them, they were also extremely saturated, but with big smiles on their face. And then they left straight after, just before the proper rainfall came, and the lightning, when we had to switch off because it became quite dangerous for our equipment at that stage. So my thoughts are the lions are either this side or they're that side, but I don't think they're that side anymore. So I didn't get that, Faith. I'm just going to keep heading around one more time, folks. One more go at this. The wildebeest got chased through here and then they went back again and out. Oh, Birdie, I'm not sure. Maybe we can get it for you. I'm going to have to ask their guest when I see them. But also I don't know what kind of quality it's in. So let's see. We'll definitely have a chat with Rex at some stage today, see if we can get that. but no promises. So I walked in just over here and I heard wildebeest snorting. So that's why I thought the lions were definitely in there. So I went all the way around, walked in from that side, but didn't find them. There was tracks at one point of where lioness had turned quite heavily in the sand. Obviously that's sort of, they wait and then as something comes, they launch themselves. There was one of those, but it's just one individual. The rest of the pride, I think, might still be on this side of the road. But then right now, that is only a guess. If they haven't caught something, there's a good chance, like I said, that they are still walking. They maybe got up again and started moving. Maybe the wildebeest was alarming at me. I do look quite dangerous, you know, my black jacket. Okay. So the wildebeest had come around, and this is the point where they turned again. So at some point here or there, the lions spun them around. Ubombo girl most certainly will go past the watering holes and see how much water there is. Chela Pan is overflowing. All the little pans on this road are overflowing as well. So there's a very good chance that the watering holes are looking much better than they did a couple days ago. We made a very, very quick turn at Vuyatela watering hole, but it was still quite dark at that stage, and it appeared like it had risen somewhat. Hard to say without putting a stick in the sand to measure the level, but just from an eye, it definitely looked like it had risen a few feet. Oh, hard for me to say exactly, but we'll be able to notice some of the other watering holes quite easily. We just spent a lot of time at them. Okay. Lions, you are here somewhere, going around the block one more time, and hopefully you will pop your heads out, or we'll hear the classic alarm calls of, see, so this little watering pan over here, let me just turn for it. This one here. Andy, lion prides do fight over territory. It's not often that you see it. Last year, the Torchwood Pride and the Unkuhumas had a little bit of a one-on-one, or a bit of a three-on-three, I think it was. But often it sounds a lot worse than it really is. But when it does come to territory, lionesses can inflict enormous amounts of injuries on each other. Same with male lions competing over females. But it's not often that you actually see proper aggression. By scent marking and by calling, they try and eliminate each other or from bumping into each other so that they can sort of increase the amount of time that they can spend on this earth. Because if they encounter each other regularly, well, there will be all sorts of trouble. You can only deal with so many fights in your life as a lion. They can become very, very violent when they do really unleash themselves. Okay, well, let's keep going on around the corner. One last chance, but let's go over to Gigi, who has got for you a lovely kingfisher.
Very good. And talking of a water pan, I also got some bird that's looking at some water, and definitely she is looking for some food. Now, we haven't seen this bird for quite some time, so what I want to do is to ask all of you to send me the name of who this bird you think is. Hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. Give me an idea, who do you think that is? We haven't had her on camera for quite some time, neither here in the Mara Triangle or in Juma. So please tell me, who do you think that is? And I'll give you a clue. She is looking at water, down and up. Who do you think that is? Keep looking. Did you catch something for yourself? So what she does, she's looking at the water, jumps in the water, and then goes back after she catches something for herself. Who do you think that is? Indigo Girl, very close. You say that's a grey-headed kingfisher. I'll give you, Indigo Girl, an 8 out of 10 because of saying a kingfisher. Indigo Girl, very well done. But I do not think that's her. But very well done to say. Lauren, you said that's the pygmy kingfisher. Very close, just like Inigo Gal. I'll also give you an 8 out of 10. An 8 out of 10, but all of you are coming very close for saying kingfisher. It's very good. Very good. One thing is for fact, Lauren, Indigo Girl, you're very right. It's a kingfisher. But tell me, which kingfisher do you think that is? Zenzela, you say is brown and kingfisher. Not really. Look a little bit harder, and I'm sure you're all going to get it very, very soon. It's one of the most beautiful kingfishers that we have here in Africa. GT Fox, very well done. You have taken the day, and happy Valentine to you. You have said it's the Malachite Kingfisher. If I'm not mistaken, 100% correct. Very well done. You got it right. That is the Malachite Kingfisher. And for those of you who say the dwarf, pretty close to, but if you look at the dwarf Kingfisher, or the African dwarf kingfisher, have a bit of, I would say, pinkish color on the head. And my guess is this is the Malachite kingfisher. Very well done. Not all kingfishers eat fish, but this particular one will always be eating fish. And I'm sure every time she jumps in the water, she is catching something for herself. How cool. I don't remember the last time I saw the Malachite kingfisher. Is quite some time since I saw one last. Thank you, Archie. Actually, let's have a look at this here. If we want to show the viewers who said the dwarf kingfisher, and that is the African dwarf kingfisher. If you look, it's got a bit of pinkish on her head, unlike the African Malachite, or unlike the Malachite kingfisher. And I think if it was the African dwarf kingfisher, would have called or said she has taken the day for Valentine because of the pinkish, is it reddish, really? More pinkish on her head. Very good. Apparently it's Archie who spotted that Malachite kingfisher, and he told me to back up, and I got to the lions. Gemma, a very good morning and happy Valentine's Day. Now, there's so many species of kingfishers in the Mara, and we'll always see them once in a while, but apparently they're always very dodgy on camera. So every time, Gemma, we see them, before the camera operator frames them, they're there for a couple of seconds, and by the time the director comes to you, they are gone. But I think it wasn't bad to see that dwarf kingfisher there, Gemma, and thank you to know you're watching. Let's see what other maybe kingfishers we might see today. And I'm sure you saw her bopping up her head like that. And every time they do that, they're always trying to estimate the distance from where they are to where I think then, Gemma, your question was whether I have seen all the kingfisher species in the Mara. All the kingfisher species that are here, I have seen them. Of course, definitely not today. Today, that's the only one that I saw. But all the kingfisher species that we have in the Mara Triangle, we'll always see them every other day. Well, I've taken a different direction now to look for these lions, because where I thought they could be, they are not there. And I think I say the biggest challenge we have now is the height of the grass. It's just so high, unless maybe you're going to see them walking, going for a drink, or you see them walking on an open road, clear road like this one. Possibly you'll be able to meet with them. Well, I'll keep looking for them. But it's here, my friend Oli, want to say something? Oli, what do you want to say?
Ask for a link. Good morning once again, beautiful people. While David is busy with the kingfishers there, I'm looking at this wonderful creature which is called a leopard tortoise. I'm sorry about the gremlins because we have the technical problems. They will be fixed in no heartbreaking time. So going back to the tortoise because it's walking, and my name is Oli and coming to you live in the Kruger National Park. So we have changed with me and Uncle.
Well, sorry about that. I mean, Oli had some little technical issues. Once in a while they'll happen. And it's always a pleasure to come back to me. And I hope my red dress code today for the Valentine is blending in very well in the green grass here. So the first herd of buffaloes I saw were around this area. That was early in the morning when it was still a bit dark. And I'm trying to imagine if those lions were stalking them last night and they made a kill, they could be anywhere around this area. Now, if definitely they made a kill and they're eating, they're all flat. They're all flat in the grass, of course. And what should happen is when they eat, definitely they will be laying down or sitting down. So, and that also makes it a little bit difficult for me to spot them. So it's just to stick on the road like this one, where you don't want to drive over the grass and not wanting to bump or to get into a hole, which could be pretty dangerous. And just keep crossing fingers. You will see these cats eating something or eating the buffalo that I'm guessing they might have hunted for themselves. Just taking any road that I see now, because that's my best bet at the moment. And when need be, I'll just stop and get my far lookers, my binoculars, and try and look over the grass and see for any movement. Chances are, any movement I would see now would be a lion. Angela, any communication between what species, Faith? I'm sure Angela wants to know some communication between something. Lions were. Angela, I guess your question is there any communication between the bird species? Well, Angela, if that's your question, birds of the same species are always in constant communication. They're always in touch by their different calls. So birds of the same species, they're always in constant communication. It could be a mating call, or it could be a territorial call, like what we saw earlier with the yellow-throated longclaw. So they're always in communication, and they definitely must, plan their day. They must communicate. If there's any concern of any dangers of where they are, Angela, they must do a particular call, like a warning call. And that's why, Angela, sometimes we have used birds to lead us to particular prey. So there's a little rock there, which I'm saying is always something that we need to avoid. And this is one area I would expect these lions to be, simply because the grass is not very high, and if they would have hunted, I would expect them to be eating around here. So, Angela asking the question whether, different or bird species will always communicate. James, the shepherd tree male, no news as yet. No news as yet. And the last I heard him was about, 2 weeks ago, and we were doing a TV show. And when the TV show started, I had him on frame for like 35 seconds. And so funny, I was with another camera operator called Bungay. And James, after I introduced myself, I told Bungay, let's go back to the shepherd tree male. And I can tell you, James, he was not there. He was gone. and we never saw him. And we were left laughing for like a whole 4 minutes or 5 minutes, wondering what really happened to our leopard. So far, no news, but James, I can tell you, he is around somewhere. Just watching some vultures flying from a distance and trying to find out. Actually, see that vulture flying there? Not sure you can get it. Or it could be a black-chested snake eagle. My apologies, Archie. It's not a vulture, and I thought it was a vulture. It could be taking us somewhere. It looks like, to me, like a black-chested snake eagle. Fantastic. Woohoo! You see how she landed there? Well, you can only now see the silhouette of that, and how nice to see such a huge eagle there. And as her name suggests, feeding on snakes. If it was definitely a vulture, I would have watched one vulture come on that tree, another one come in to land there, and another one. And that would give you some very nice clues of where maybe a kill would have been of the sausages. So it's black-chested snake eagle. Some of the largest eagles that we got in Africa. Look at her. Hopefully it's not a martial eagle. The lighting's not very good. Zinzela, you say gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Yes, and most of the eagles here in Africa are just good looking in terms of size. And also when you look at them when they perch on trees, they tend to perch on a 90 degrees angle. So just very quickly, even without knowing exactly what eagle it is, if you see them from a distance and see how they're perching from their feet, and you pick something like 90 degrees, you can very quickly say it is a snake eagle. Hopefully I'm not mistaking her with a martial eagle, because, I mean, she is quite large. I'm just seeing the silhouette of it, because the black-chested snake eagle have that, black breast, and it will be more or less the same case with the martial eagles. And I'm looking at the crest that she got. It's being blown up by the wind there, and she just perched. Jonathan, very good. You're saying the balancing is superb. Well, from where she is, what she needs to do, she needs to balance very well. And what she just needs to do is to move her head so that her eyes can scan around possibly 360 if you look at her carefully, because that is how they spot their prey. Wonderful sight they got, and have seen these eagles seeing or spotting a prey even 2 kilometers apart. You see like that bopping that she's doing with her neck. And you remember I was talking about the same with the malachite kingfisher that we saw a few minutes ago. When they do that, that always in general gives them an idea of how far, one, the prey is, and two, what type of prey it is. Is it worth to go for it? And if they decide to go for it, what momentum do they live in? What is the landing speed? And what angle do they approach their prey? Hello, Snake Eagle. I'm calling you Snake Eagle for now because I've got your silhouette. And if I don't call you Snake Eagle, you'll definitely be a martial eagle. But from when I saw her flying, Kesek, you say that eagle looks very big. And if I listen to you carefully then, Kesek, I might then call this one the martial eagle. Let me see if I use my far lookers without because the light is just coming right to me. And I'll be able to know, the sunlight just blinding my eyes. Let me see if I can look carefully and say, well, I would say it could be a juvenile or an immature martial eagle now. Having a second look. Yeah, it could be a juvenile or an immature, more of a juvenile than an immature martial eagle. I can't see the breast very well, which definitely will always give them away. So what I'm just seeing is just the back. And of course the sun is coming straight into my eyes. You see that bopping again? So when they do that, it's just trying to see what they can see. How far is it? What is it? Is it worth going for it or not? I'm trying to see if they can get the Marshall Eagle. Jonathan, very well done. Jonathan, very well done. And we have always said it's always good to look something 2 times. Initially in flight, I thought it was, a snake eagle, but again, I've drifted and shifted to the Marshall Eagle. Jonathan, thank you very much. Maybe you have a better view than me from where I am. I have the sun from the eastern horizon right straight into my eyes, and it's just blinding me. And that's the best arch can do. And exactly, Jonathan, from a little crest there, which we don't see in snake eagles. Yes, I think you're right. And also the way he is, and looking at her, she is big by any standard. So definitely it's a Marshall Eagle. That's definitely a Marshall Eagle. And these are the largest, not the largest, the largest eagles that we got in Africa. Jonathan, I'm sure you know that. Jason, very good question. And Jason, before I answer you, not sure whether this glare actually will help or not. But yes, Jonathan, from what you said, this is exactly how a Marshall Eagle looks like. And that is the one that is right there. The little crest that we're seeing being blown by the wind is right back there. Now, of course, on the front there, it's not being blown by the wind, and that's what we saw coming up like that. And Jason, I'll tell you what, one of the biggest antelopes these eagles have been known to bring down. I'm talking of, they have been known to bring down baby Thompson gazelles, baby impalas, and even baby Grant gazelles. I mean, they are hugely powerful, and they just fly down, they look. And I've been suspecting these eagles, I'm not sure I could be right, because one of the females in the pride that we follow here, the sausage tree pride, that is called Limpy, lost one cub. And nobody knows exactly what happened. And we have always had our own theories. And to me, one of the theories, it could have been picked up by an eagle like that. Just look at that eagle. Look at where she is. And why wouldn't she be able to... And of course, it's either got eaten. Kesek, you'd like to know how large is that eagle wingspan? It could be about 4 feet when you see them spreading up like that, and they got very huge wingspan. And being such a heavy eagle, it needs a huge also wingspan for it to be able to lift up its body. We have other eagles similar to that, but much, not bigger, but much stronger. And I'm talking about the crown eagles. Crown eagles are much stronger than the Marshall eagles. A little smaller in size, but more powerful. And you'd see the type of food they hunt. I mean, they even get down monkeys of some sort, huge monkeys, because of their strength. And baying raptors, we call them, they tend to seize their prey, and you see the thrust of the momentum. They land on their prey, boom, and they're very, very strong. They hold them so strongly and stick to them. Well, that area, no sign of the sausage gulls. I'm not sure they went to the market, and today being Valentine's Day, I would expect them to have gone to the market yesterday, and all would be looking colorful. And all of them having red lips, red mouths, being Valentine's Day, feeding on a buffalo. But that's not exactly what is happening today. If I see them, and I see them with a kill, I would be very excited, especially to see those cubs with red mouth. It will confirm to me truly today is Valentine's Day, and even the lions know that. Well, hopefully they don't disappoint me, having put on such a nice, red hat. And I decided to sacrifice my very lovely green Maasai shuka to put on a red one for the Valentine's theme. And I hope these guys will not let me down. Daniel, I'm still with you. I haven't forgotten your baby elephants. And Hopefully we're going to be seeing them at one point. This is the home of the sausage pride, but the whole thing is, where are they? And you just have to keep looking for them. Now, I want to show you one tree here, because to the right of the tree, at the base of that tree, there is my favorite bird. And I'm sure all of you know my favorite bird at the base of that tree to the right. And you have definitely picked it up. And that is the RBR, and the famous lilac-breasted roller, LBR. This is my very famous and favorite bird, apparently also being the national bird of Kenya. And let's look, we had, was it Anna Marie, who was talking on the come and be eater. And what do you think of this, Anna Marie? If I don't get to the come and be eater, and especially the southern come and be eater, I don't know whether you are going to like my lilac-breasted roller. Hopefully you're still on board. And we agreed the come and be eater and the Roses Turaco are some of the most, most beautiful birds, or birds that could blend in or could relate to Valentine's Day today. Let's think now of the lilac-breasted roller. Which color could you tell us, or could you show us on a Valentine's Day? And just like the macho we saw earlier, what she is doing there, she is definitely looking for food. And they'll feed on insects. Sometimes you have seen them feeding on arthropods, like frogs and crustaceans in the water, of course in the ground, beetles. Sharon, thank you for your comment. It's such a beautiful bird. And Sharon, not sure we have interacted before. And if not, please know this is my favorite bird. And Sharon, if you see this bird in flight, I'm sure you know. Or if you haven't, hopefully one of the days, if not today, you're going to see her in flight. She is lovely. With that small size, that bird have about 6, 7 different colors. Kim, you said this is one of your favorite birds. Kim, many thanks. Yes, and me and you, I think, are on the same page. And I've always thought Gemma also loves this bird, being, the lilac-breasted roller, because he also knows I love it very much. Ideally, you see them on their own. And once in a while, you'll see them in twos. But in general, they're very solitary birds. When, of course, mating, you'll see a male and a female. I have always said, to me, this is the most photographed bird in Africa, or maybe the most celebrated bird in Africa. I could be wrong here. I'll be finding out what my colleagues think. I'll ask Isaac later this afternoon whether, he would agree with me that of all the birds we got in Africa, this one has the most profiles, people in their homes, and more so those who are lucky when they get them in flight. Unlike the bee-eaters, which we call hawkers, these ones will stay where they are and wait to see their prey and then go around pick it up. Ramona, very good. On a Valentine's Day, you have hit 90 on your bird list species. Very good, Ramona. Hopefully, Ramona, I might be able to get you one more and maybe go to 91, 92 before the end of the drive. Ramona, tell me what else you'd like to see today. But I think to hit 90 for bird species, it's wonderful. Look at the beauty of the Mara Triangle. Oh, there was a little bird there, not sure whether it was a cisticola or not, but Archie, thank you very much. Maybe Ramona would have gone to number 91, but wow, she just nicked. Apologies, because Juma has been having a bit of technical issues, but I think they are back into business, and I'm sure all you will want to apologize and say, I am here again. Live.
Sorry about the gremlins. Was talking about the tortoise. It left us now because we didn't want to disturb it because it was in a mission. So I didn't know how much you got about the leopard tortoise, but what I said is this: that's a leopard tortoise. It's a baby leopard tortoise. I don't know where is it born, but it's from the ground. They dig themselves out to the surface after 14 months. It might be less than that, but that's the maximum. What happens is the mother lays eggs, and then she closes, and then she leaves. They don't do any nesting after that. That's why we see this young chap over there alone. Also, the gender, it goes with the heat in the nest. The top ones, which are the males, the temperature is about 31 to 35 degrees Celsius. The ones underneath or below, they are females, which are 25 to 30 degrees Celsius. So enough about leopard tortoise. My name is Oli, and joining us behind the camera is Seb from Gabon. We have changed with Uncle James, and now I have my beautiful bird for Valentine's Day. And happy Valentine's to you all. I didn't choose this bird because there's a red and white color there, and this is the male. This is called a red-headed weaver. It's so simple to identify this bird because of the coloration. You can see the female is different from the male. The female has a bright yellow color on its head, and the male has the red color on its head. Bear in mind that this red color you see over here, it's only visible during the breeding season. And out of breeding season, it changes to this, like a female. Because that's why out of the breeding season, it's so difficult to identify weavers. And most weavers we can get here, they also do the same. Some would think that maybe they are migrants, or because you can't see the color during the breeding season, they become dull. I can say that.
From Joy, are rosy-faced lovebirds found in the Mara or Juma? Rosy-faced lovebirds.
Rosy-faced lovebirds.
From Joy.
From Joy.
Are they found
here? I've never heard about that bird, and I don't think they are found here. We only find a lot of different weavers. We can let me go down a little bit and show you the weavers we can find here. You can see the southern musk weaver, which is this one. It can be found here. The lesser musk weavers, the village weavers, these ones are common. The village weavers are these ones we see every day when we go to Chitwa Dam. These are the birds we see. This is number 3, the village weavers. They are common here. And there's a lot of weavers we can find in this place. That's why I said they look more or less the same out of breeding season, and they look different in the breeding season. And this bird I was telling you about, this red-headed weaver, it symbolizes love for me, patience and focus and dedication. You know why I'm saying that? It's easy. It's easy because, you know, when the male, during the breeding season, the male has to construct the nest. Not just constructing the nest, but it takes time, energy.
Right, Dale has another question for you. Do any animals have courtship rituals?
Sorry about that. I'm listening to the question getting questions from Uncle James.
And Dale, do any animals have courtship rituals?
Yes, Dale. Wants to know, do birds have courtship rituals? Yes, for sure. Last week I was with Ellie. I'm sure you met Ellie. We saw a blue waxbill with the bluegrass on its beak, and it was on top of a branch, and it was doing like this. And the female was not far from that male, so that's a courtship behavior. It tells the females that I can build you a nice nest. I can get you very beautiful grasses. So going to the weavers, what they do is the male can construct up to 10 nests. You know why? It's because the female has to be satisfied. Then what happens is, if she's not satisfied, she will break the nest, and then the male will start again and make another nest. That's why some females, they get bored and they don't see that guy as a fit guy or energetic. They just leave the guy. So Valentine's Day is for them, these birds.
When you wrap, you can link to David for an update.
Talking about the weavers, They're so patient, and I am patient, I think. So while I'm discussing about weavers, maybe I'll see a weaver around here. I'll show you to you guys. Let's go to David.
Well, Oli, I'm sure, Oli, you remember the last time you were here. Just discussed some sighting that you had with the wild dogs, and that was some time back. And after your sighting, everybody kept saying, Oli brought some good luck in the Mara because you saw wild dogs, which are quite rare. But apparently, 2 weeks after I came back from a leave, I also saw wild dogs, but not maybe the same pack you saw, because I saw 3. And they were tearing down an impala. And it's not a day like today when you'd want to see wild dogs tearing down an impala as much as all their faces would be covered red, you know, for Valentine. I think those could be harsh animals to see on Valentine's Day, devouring an animal or a prey. Well, my luck has not been going very well, but I think in relationship to other game or other animals has been good. But my sausages are trying to play me games. They played for us games for about 6 days, almost a week. And they would come here like 4 hours in the morning, 4 hours in the afternoon, and we could not see them. That happens, nothing out of the ordinary. But then we get consoled by the big game, the buffaloes, the elephants, the hartebeests. They're those animals that we definitely cannot miss. And if they made a kill, as I said earlier, it might take some time before the vultures will start picking the thermals and flying up in the air, trying to pick the scent, looking down to see the kill of the sausages. Hook question, you're asking about the Mara and its habitat. What you see, this is exactly how it was from time immemorial. And it hasn't been inhabited. And if man was here, I would say it could be like thousands of years ago. So after the formation of the Rift Valley, what you see, this is how it was, or this is what was left. So man has not cleared a single tree here, and it has been conserved since the 1940s. So this is natural as it has been for time immemorial. And Daniel, hopefully you are still on, you're still watching. And what will happen, Daniel, I might show you the baby elephant you requested me to show you earlier. We've got a herd of elephants here. And Daniel, you have the baby elephant as your present for Valentine's Day. If my elephants or my lions don't show up, Faith is telling me still very well done, because it's always exciting to watch elephants, and especially if Daniel will be lucky to see that one nursing, I think it will give you an extra bonus, and your day will be perfect, Daniel. To see a baby and to see one suckling, it is not just an ordinary sighting. It's pretty super special. You notice they're not flapping their ears as much because it's still quite cool. Just a very slow flick in and out. Very good. I hope you can just hear them grazing, pulling the grass out of the ground. Typical good size of a herd of elephants. Flap in and out again. This here, because it's not pretty warm, it's quite cool, so they don't have to keep flapping. I'm counting about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, about out of 15 elephants. That's a sizable family. And the bird you saw flying up there, the white one, is a cattle egret. which always will take advantage of these very largest mammals on land in Africa or in the world as they keep disturbing the grass. They pick a lot of insects. Don't you say you love spending time with the elephant because of how peaceful they are? I was talking earlier of the lilac-breasted roller as my favorite bird, and if we talk of the big mammals, this is my favorite, and I'm sure me and you could just sit here and watch these animals for hours and hours on end without getting bored. I mean, we see lions very many times, but once they go flat, that's it. I don't remember the last time even a director in the final control told us your elephants are flat, and I would personally feel very offended. Sinead would say elephants are flat. Not really. And I'm sure the elephants even themselves would be like, no, David, that's not practical. It's not possible. We are always doing something. Feeding, drinking, flicking our tails, our ears, our trunks, trying to sniff, what kind of cologne David, you and Archie have today on Valentine's Day. Unfortunately, we stick in the camp. Nothing much changes. It was so funny the other day. I think it was on a Monday, and I was wishing everybody a happy Valentine's Day. And the final control was like, you dude, you're 3 days early. And not because I knew, but I think we stay in the bush, and we always get confused because every other day remains the same. Well, I want to leave my Ellies and move on, and I'll take you back to Juma, to Trishala, and hopefully things are looking brighter technically now.
Hello everybody. I am so glad to be here today. I have swapped over with Oli, and I am Trishala, as you all know. I quite enjoy being in the tent, and I really enjoy rocks. So we're going to chat a bit about rocks and what we get here and how they're composed, really. So we're going to start with granite, which is the one that we get very often here. It's the most common rock, or most common material here, and it's what produces all these sandy soils around us. It is what's called an intrusive rock. So that means that it has cooled underneath the surface of the earth. So you get two types of rocks there. You get an intrusive and extrusive rock. So let me show you an example of an extrusive rock. So this is your intrusive rocks here. You get granite, and here you get an extrusive rock here. So this is basalt. You don't get that here very often. I actually got this little rock from Hawaii. So very cool, and you can see that it's very fine grained because it's cooled rapidly, because it's come out, extrusive, it's come out of the volcano and cooled onto the earth's surface. And then a rock like the granite, there's little fissures in the surface as the magma comes up, and these little fissures get filled with the lava, and what happens, it cools, and the rate of cooling is what makes the difference in the rocks. So in granite it cools really slowly, and so the crystals grow slowly, and then they have all this time to grow. Whereas with the basalt, you can see it's really fine grained because it cools rapidly and the crystals don't get a chance to grow. I think it's quite cool. And then in the granites, the common one that we get here, you get two types of minerals that are fairly common. You also get something called feldspar, but I don't have an example for you here, but we get mica. I like them because they're really shiny and really pretty. And I'm a girl and I like shiny things. So this type of mica here is known as white mica or muscovite. Whereas this one here, this bronzy dark one, is called biotite. And it's generally just because of the processes involved that the color changes. But I really like it because it's super shiny and super flaky. In fact, let's maybe see if we can get it under the microscope. Let me just adjust it here. Cool, look at that. Oh, look at that. I think that's so cool. Now can you see the different sheets, and you can see how brittle it is. Very cool. Now, we saw that one, we can see that it's brittle and fine, but that's a mineral, that's not a rock. Then we have the granite, which has much bigger crystals. There you can see lots of bigger crystals here. And then when you compare that one to the basalt, you can see the grains are super, super fine. And that's how it's got that smooth kind of finish. So there we go. Intrusive, extrusive rocks, all coming from the lava, some cooling under the surface, some cooling above the surface. Then we get dolerite, which I think is super cool too. Now, dolerite cools under the surface, so it's an intrusive rock, but it's super fine, unlike the granite where the crystals are really big. So this tells us that it's been cooled down rapidly, but not over the surface of the earth, but rather it's cooled rapidly just beneath the surface. So it's really, really fine grained. And it's from this type of rock, like dolerite, that ancient humans used to actually make tools, like this one. You can see that that's the same type of rock. It's very hardy because it's cooled all together in one bit underneath the Earth's surface. So we've been using rocks for years and years and years, although we just kind of walk past them and pretend like they don't mean too much. But they've been super helpful in our development. You can see the sharp edges there for cutting. Then of course we get sedimentary rock, like your sandstones, or in this case we have, so this is not quite a rock yet. You can see if I do this, I can scrape little bits off, because it's clay that's kind of been compacted. And it will, over time, once its sediments kind of settle, and all the weight and pressure falls onto it, it'll actually become shale, which I think is quite cool. When you have, it can also become sandstone, but it'll depend on the composition and what it becomes, but it's most likely, for me it looks like it's composed of shale, so it'll most likely become, composed of clay, so it'll most likely become shale. Then the other type of rock that we have that I don't have an example of is metamorphic rock, and that's when the sedimentary rocks all pile onto each other, and this is now we're talking over millions of years, and then it becomes so pressurized and so hot and so deep, most of the time they settle in the ocean, that the processes within the Earth's mantle actually pull down parts of that rock and then pull it into certain temperatures and certain pressures. And then when it does that, just the perfect type, just this above this temperature but not below another temperature, and then you get different types of rock developing from that. And then that is called your metamorphic rock. And then as it gets pulled down, it melts again and then it comes back out as lava. So the whole thing is a cycle, and I quite like it. I like rocks, and I think I'm learning quite a bit about it. I hope you guys learned a lot about it too. My little rock segment.
We can link.
Okay. I hope Steve has something nice to say about my rocks, and hope he finds some too. Let's go to him and see what he's got.
Well, welcome back everybody. We do apologize for all the technical issues that are happening. I have managed to get to every single watering hole already except for Buffelshoek, and they're all looking much fuller than before, but not full. Still a long way to go. But one thing that's very interesting is that groundwater, as the water is seeping from the rain into the ground, it's slowly filtering still into the drainage lines and down into the dams and water holes themselves. There's a slender mongoose there, BK, just in front of us on the left. Just get the end of his tail down on the floor. There we go. There's a slender mongoose. Hello, fella. How you doing? Well, we came around on this road this morning. All the impala were hiding down here. And the Unkuhumas were somewhere in the block on the right-hand side. They haven't come out again, and they still haven't got Rexon out for us this morning to help us. So we were slowly making our way. We did a little waterhole challenge for all of you, but unfortunately we've had no communication, so we haven't been able to show it to you. And we just went back now to get things sorted, and as we were arriving back, of course, it all came back online again. So don't ask me how these things work. I really have no idea. But now we're going to continue on. I'm going to go over towards sort of the western side, should I say no, the northern side, to where Tlalamba was, and just go and ascertain the ground over there and see if it's worthwhile following up. Maybe along the way here, we might be lucky and the lions might just pop out for us in the open. Wouldn't that be marvelous? All the hard work. So we've done this entire block a couple of times, but we haven't yet done this straight line. So maybe there'll be some tracks. Thanks, David, for... Oh, there is a giraffe up ahead. Thanks, David, for holding the show for so long. I know it's not that easy, but nothing we could do, I'm afraid. Okay, so there's a giraffe just on the left here. He's also trying to hide, no doubt, from the lions. I'll try and get him in frame in a second. He's just moved into the thickets. The rain is starting to pitter-patter down again. Wow, look at that. Giraffe has just disappeared down into the drainage river system. Amazing, I find, how such a big animal can just vanish. Just vanish. It goes quite a steep drop down there into the river, so you probably did a little bit of a... Have you seen a giraffe gallop? It's quite funny to see those long legs taking big strides, and it's one of the reasons that the unkuhumas, or why lions can chase giraffe, because sometimes they trip. So everyone's wondering if I've got any updates on Tlalamba. No, I haven't even gotten there yet. I went around to do a bit of a waterhole survey for Ubombo Girl. Everybody wanted to see the water, but we were getting no comms. So I've been to almost every watering hole, and I was almost at the site of Tlalamba when I was asked to come back to see if we could figure out the technical issues. And as we were returning to camp, the technical issues resolved themselves. So now we are headed back again, but I can't go the shortcut because the dam wall for Voyatel is out of bounds after a lot of rain due to the fact that the vehicle's heavy and you don't want to damage the wall. The wall is there to keep the water in, and obviously it gets saturated. And if we did drive in there, it's just not worth risking it. So we've got to go all the way back around again. But we are headed in that direction. But as I said, not guaranteed we're going to be able to go off-road because we don't know what the ground is like. Well, we've got one of the landowners here. Abel is... I was chatting to him just now about the lions. Give me 1 second. Good morning, sir. Any luck there? Did you see the tracks? The tracks came halfway down here and then halfway down Fullerman. So I think they're somewhere here, inside. Good luck, Abel. Thanks, eh? Abel is an expert tracker, so if he can't find them, well, then I don't feel too bad. But as he suggests also, they're probably on the left-hand side there, inside the block between sort of Warburg's Nest and Ingwe Alley. But anyway, we're going to go back to the man of the hour, David Gitu, to see if he's got any more to talk about this morning.
Well, Steve, keep trying, don't give up. And the best thing is always to looking harder and harder. And I've always found out is when you're giving up, or like, all right, I'm not being lucky, so nothing doing, is when things turn out to be good. Well, I left my elephants and I thought I'd move on, chancing on the sausages. Sausages is a pride of lions that I love to follow. For those of you who might wonder what I'm talking about, and maybe the next time they'll hear me talking of bacons, if I'm talking about sausages, but we call them sausages because of how they love to climb a particular type of tree here in the Mara that is called the sausage tree. This is their home turf. I mean, it's a particular pride of lions that I've never seen them going further out. We have quite a number of prides in the Mara, and depending on what season it is, like what I would call the green season, like now, when there's a bit of limited availability of resources in terms of food, and you see certain prides trying to sneak in other lions' territory. The sausage pride in particular I have always seen them sticking in their home turf, regardless of the time of the year. So I ended up maybe sometimes last year calling this area the Sausage Republic because they own it. And even when things are very tough and not as much food, like during the migration of the wildebeest, they always tend to hang around here. And they'll always definitely improvise and change to whatever other food is available. Like buffaloes, which do not migrate, they tend to hunt them a lot. Of course, even when the wildebeest are here, I said earlier, this particular pride have mastered to bring down these very big and dangerous animals for themselves. So the last kill they had was a week ago. They haven't brought down another buffalo. You'd like to know whether they have pangolins in the Mara. Yes, we have pangolins in the Mara. Ideally, they are nocturnal. We normally see them at night. And once in a blue moon, we bump into them during the day, pangolins. And we have this particular belief here in Africa that if you see a pangolin, and especially during the day, that's the day you go buy lottery, because you will definitely win. I don't know where that came from. It's very unusual. In my career, I have seen a pangolin during the day one, and my career spans to like over 20 years in the African bushes. I mean, Kenya, Tanzania, Botswana, name it. South Africa, I have only seen a pangolin once. It was right here where we are in the Mara. But apparently by the time I thought I'll get to a city or I could buy a lottery, I mean, you know, the lottery shops would have been closed. So I did not do that. But I knew if I would have done that, you know, I would definitely have won. Well, yes, we have pangolins here, but more often than not, we see them at night. A colleague of mine, I'm sure you know him, or rather his name is Tristan. A couple of months ago, he had a wonderful sighting of a pangolin with lions. And that was at night though. As usual, as I said, we normally see them more at night than during the day. And it was such an interesting sighting because with the pangolin were some lions which wanted to, you know, feed on the pangolin, you know. I mean, lions have been known to eat pangolins, but by the time the drive, you know, ended, there was still a standoff between the pangolin, and she rolled herself in that little ball. You know how skilled in those skills, and you know how hard they are, and it become very tricky for the lions just to bite through that. So yes, we got pangolins here in the Mara. Very, very good. I haven't still given up looking for the lions, but in the meantime, we'll take you back to South Africa to Trishala.
Well, good luck, David. I'm sure your red outfit will definitely stand out there so the lions can see you from a mile away. Maybe that's why they're hiding from you. Well, I have taken a walk around the tent. And I always love doing this because I love the little things. And I have found a whole lot of different types of fungus. There are some obviously different types. Oh, apparently my audio sounds muffled. That's because my... Excuse me. Avert the eyes. My speaker has fallen down. Is that better? I hope that is better. But like I was saying, I was taking a walk around the tent, and then I found a whole lot of mushrooms. And it's odd because normally you may only see a few of them. So let me just go through them with you. So this is the common one that I see often, and that's called a blue gum woodcap. And you'll find that most of these grow in sort of dead bits of wood. And this one is one that I see quite commonly. Then we have this, which is called an artist's palette or an artist's bracket, whatever you like, and you can see exactly why it's called that. Then we have here an earth ball. They're very cute and very, very soft. And here we have a cracked mottled gill. Let's start with the cracked mottled gill. Now, I find it really, really interesting because these ones are coprophilic, which means that they like to grow in dung. And what they'll usually do, you can also see them in fresh dung, just kind of poking out of it, but more often they're in dung that's sort of broken down and is in the soil now, and there's probably just a bit of a layer of dung on the top of it, and then these grow out of it. Ramona asks if any of these are edible. The one that I was just talking to you about, you can eat it if you wish to hallucinate. It has a chemical in it called psilocybin, which is what causes you to hallucinate. And like I said, they grow in the dung of animals, and the spores spread out about 2 kilometers, and then the animal will eat the leaves that the spores fall onto. So the spores don't actually fall onto the dung and then sprout and grow. The animal has consumed it, and then the little capsule that it is in gets partially digested, and when it comes out into the dung, it's ready to grow. And then people harvest them and take them if they wish. Then the other ones, I'm not too sure about. And when it comes to mushrooms, it's best to avoid eating it than just kind of trying it and deciding whether you're going to eat it or not, because you're very likely to not survive. Now, this blue gum woodcap is very tough. Lewis says she thought that one of these was a spider egg sac. No, this is in fact an earth ball, and what it does, if I could just pick it up, they kind of sit flat onto the ground, and you can see that there's a little hole there. Sorry, my hands are in the way. Just a little hole right there. And what it does is this little hole at the top, and all the spores are on the inside, and then when it rains, like it did heavily last night, the raindrops fall onto the top of the mushroom, and then all the spores burst out of that hole, and that is the way that they disperse their spores, which I think is quite neat. Very cool. Now, we did have a huge storm last night, and I know a lot of people associate storms and lightning with mushroom growth, and there was actually a recent experiment done on that, which is quite interesting. Daniel says everything in nature is so magical. I 100% agree with you. That's why I like to pay attention to the smaller things, the rocks, the fungi, the insects, because all of that... Oh no. Put it down again. Actually, I'm just going to hold it here, guys, so we just have better audio. Everything is really, really amazing in nature, and everything has a place, which is why I really like it. Every little bit, a grain of sand, to the birds, to the elephants, they all have a place and an ecological value, which I like very much. Now, I was telling you about the experiment that was done with lightning and mushrooms. I know we often say that when the lightning strikes the ground, then all of a sudden there's this huge mushroom growth, when in fact, something like a lightning strike is very likely to kill mushrooms. It's got, I think, something like 1 billion watts of electricity or something like that that hits the ground, and that is definitely going to kill a mushroom or any other living thing around it. But what it does do is send a current through the soil, and then the mushroom reacts by thinking that it's dangerous, so it stops sending proteins and enzymes to its roots. And then once that comes up again, or once it knows that it's no longer in danger, it picks up exponentially all the nutrients that's posted to those areas, and then you get a sudden growth in mushrooms. So when you think about electricity and storms, mushrooms grow from them, but kind of like from a secondary way. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the mushrooms, hope you enjoyed the rocks. Let's see what else we can find later, and let's go to David in the meantime.
Well, Trish, I do not remember whether you have seen warthogs of late, Trish, and if you have not, we got one just in the middle of the grass, and I was telling Archie, I think I see a lion standing in that grass there. And Archie said, no, Archie is the camera operator with me today. And I told him, I think it's a lion because it's not moving. And, he was right. Apparently, where he sits, he got about, 6 inches advantage? Yeah, 6 inches much higher than me. So he definitely got a better view than me. Now, that peak there is not moving for maybe a few reasons. Number one, of course, it's rather windy, as you can see the movement of the grass. And it could be, the wind could be confusing her, like, do I go? And if I go, where do I go? I can't hear anything very well. And number two, the grass is quite high. And she does not want to walk blindly because she can just walk to the jaws of a waiting lioness, the sausages, or some other dangerous animal like the shepherd tree leopard, or, of course, wild dogs or hyenas. So she has been there for quite some time, about now this could be like 5 minutes. And either the wind will have to slow down or she'll get out of the tall grass. Kim, happy Valentine, and I'll just tell you, right back to you, Hakuna Matata, very good. Say Hakuna Matata, todo muy bien. Very good, Kim, and it's given me a lot of joy when I would hear a viewer speaking my very local language, saying Hakuna Matata. Excellent. Well, this is interesting, and I'm not sure what kind of surprise Steve got in Juma now.
Good morning, Princess. We have found her, everybody. She is in a different tree than she was trying to last night. She's managed to move her kill a little bit further up on the left. You'll see it's sitting just there on the branch. It's a little bit more of a nook there for her to hold it. Last night she hoisted the kill in the marula tree. There was a bit more sort of straight and I suppose more slippery. And, now she's managed to find a much better purchase. She could probably lie on top of that and eat. And now she's posing as only beautiful leopards in the Sabi Sands know how. Look at that. Isn't that a picture? Well, I am super blessed to be spending time with this young lady. She is a very pretty young lady, isn't she? Rosemary, she is an absolutely gorgeous leopardess. And, as we know, as we think, this is possibly the first Dacre she's killed. We don't know for sure, but she's done a very good job. I mean, last night we arrived just after she killed it, and then she dragged it underneath a bush, and then she sat with it during the worst of the storm, and then she dragged it up a tree, because after the storm abated, that is probably when hyenas would be active and mobile again. And then she went up the tree, and it was slipping and sliding out of the tree, and she hadn't even eaten any of it at that stage. It was still a full body of Dacre, and a very sort of very difficult to stick on the branch kind of Dacre. And now she's gotten up another tree about 30 meters or so from the other one. And isn't she just turning out to be such a good hunter? I mean, she's learnt from the best. Thandi is, in my opinion, an expert Dacre specialist. And hoisting the Dacre up into a tree as well is very necessary for these leopards. Something that Thandi doesn't always manage to do, because she sometimes takes food much bigger than she can hoist. Mario, she does look like she's showing off a manicure. I reckon she's still quite wet. The rain fell down torrentially last night, and her fur, I have no doubt, is still rather damp. It's still spitting a little bit, so I think she's just found a little bit of shelter inside the tree. And, well, she's definitely eaten some of the dacre. I don't know how much, but there's a very good chance she'll still be here this afternoon, unless someone comes along and steals it from her. Tingana is apparently in the north in Buffelshoek, somewhere up there, but we know how opportunistic he is. He will come from miles away to get a free meal. But would he dare steal it from his daughter? Most certainly would. He most certainly would. Well done, little princess. Isn't she gorgeous? Take your screenshots now, folks. There's something so special about seeing a cat in a tree. Ramona, Tandi is basically, the older Tlalamba gets, the more Tandi's going to leave her on her own for periods of time. And then Tandi's gone, she went east. There were tracks of her coming west yesterday, and I had a fresh track this morning during the rain, not far from here, but going in a wrong direction, so not coming directly here. So Tandi's around, but obviously Tlalamba is able to hunt for herself, so she will often rely on her mum to provide food. She's not independent yet, but it's incredible how successful a 15-month-old leopard can actually be. And we don't know what small little meals she's catching during the day when no one's watching, but she most certainly caught herself a very nice sized meal in the dacre. It was not a fully grown dacre though. I didn't even notice whether it was a male or female. I think it was a female, but it was a small dacre, probably a new one, hidden in the long grass. And the wind and the rain coming in last night made it a bit easier for Tlalamba, because the dacre would have been very twitchy and very jumpy. And when we found her with the dacre, she was so camouflaged in the grass, which almost made it impossible to see. Thankfully, Rexon was still with her. But anyway, we're going to stay here with Tlalamba. Let's go back over to Trish, who's giving you a very nice geological morning.
I have found some other interesting stuff. I always have a bag full of things. I walk around and collect these things. But here, under the microscope, I have what appears to me to be a spider-catching wasp. And she is quite large, and she's got a beautiful coloration. Now, if you can see the microscope image, which hopefully FC will pull up soon, you'll see the different color. And our color is so interesting because you can see that it's a metallic kind of sheen, and you can almost see the layering. It looks a bit like foil, and all that light being reflected and refracted. Very, very cool. Now, if you had to see her in pitch darkness, she would probably look black. And then it's actually the light and the layering that's causing this. Now let's see what else actually has this effect. I have a kind of smashed up beetle here, but I'm going to remove this wasp now. And I'm going to put my half a beetle underneath here. Let me just focus it. Wow. Look at that color. Really, really, really pretty. And now we're getting greens, a little bit more greens and blues. And very nice. So that is a glittering jewel beetle, and you can see exactly why it's called a glittering jewel beetle. It's glittering a lot. Now I have another one here that I wanted to show you, although not native to Africa, but it is a peacock feather, and I wanted to show you the peacock feather underneath the microscope, and you can get. So I think it's absolutely amazing that you'll get these different kind of effects. I mean, the same kind of effect over different species. We've got the wasp, we've got the beetle, we have the feather, and you're going to see that it almost looks pretty much the same. So I'm going to remove this jewel beetle now and put the feather underneath. And we're going to zoom to different parts of the feather and see how the color changes. Now you'll find that Oh, it's still not focused properly. There we go. So you'll find that when you look at things individually, like if you look at each one of the kind of strands individually, the color is not as obvious as when it's collected all together. And that also has to do with light. Now let's pull it down a little bit. You can see towards the edge of your screen you've got a little bit more of the yellow and blue. Now look at that. When I moved it here, it was quite yellowy, but as soon as I pulled it and the light changed, the color changes slightly because it's so dependent on the light. And now you can see, so what's happening here is towards the left of your screen, the way that it's structurally composed, the blue is being reflected. Linda says it looks like a diamond painting. I suppose it does. It looks amazing, don't you think? Can you imagine if you could take that all and actually create paint and pigment that you can kind of paint your own face with, be your own peacock? I think that would be stunning. So all these things are reflecting different types of lights, which I think is just amazing. Anyway, let's go back to Steve with Princess Tlalamba.
Do your thing. Thank you so much, Trish. We are still with the biggest poser these days. Since Hosana's moved off, Tlalamba has now become the poser. And she's got such big ears, similar to her brother Tamba, which is quite interesting. Definitely Hosana doesn't have ears that size, I don't think. Maybe it's just her face is so small that it looks like they're very big. But her older brother has got very big ears. But what a poser she is. Blider, definitely when Mum leaves her, it's hunger that forces her to hunt. But eventually what makes her independent is essentially Mum having enough of her and them starting to sort of not be friendly anymore. Essentially, a leopard cub is tolerated for a period of time and until a point when it doesn't become sort of tolerant anymore. And then when it's not tolerant anymore, they kind of just keep away from each other. What exactly is the determinant behind that is hard to say, really. The youngster stops becoming so playful, stops being so, so submissive, and then mum and daughter stop becoming friends. Like, not so long ago, Kuchava and Tandi had a bit of a boxing match, and that's her older daughter. So the leopard starts becoming territorial, and they are solitary by nature. So once they hit a certain age, they just stop being as social as they were as a youngster. And, well, mum just stops tolerating her altogether. But I don't know exactly what the driving force is behind it. But Tandi decides to stop sharing food with her. And that is exactly what happens. No more food for you, young one. You better hunt for yourself. But essentially, a female leopard will carve out a part of her mum's territory. And what's it seeming like is Tlalamba's enjoying the sort of area here around sort of Nyala Road North, Nyala Road South, Hyena Road. Kind of sort of the sort of central east part of the property. A little bit more east from where she was born. And she seems to be thoroughly enjoying this area where mum, no doubt, has left her for the time being. But I'm sure she'll come back. I don't think it's at the end of their friendship or the end of the parenthood, but it is just going to show how successful leopards are and how much instinct there is behind them and keeping them sort of safe. She knows instinctively she's got to hoist that kill. She knew how to kill it when we found her. She had it around the neck, and she positioned it again and again and again until eventually she chose a new tree, which eventually she's able to feed off of it and keep it up. So those are things that she's been learning over time with mum. How marvelous indeed, young Tlalamba. You are very pretty, and I've really had my work cut out for me the last few days finding you. But here we have you beautiful in the morning. I have no doubt you'll be here this afternoon, and just perfectly so, because we do have a rehearsal this evening. But that is the last of our SABC shows coming up on Sunday. and Tlalamba has been the star of the last couple of weeks. But anyway, everybody, thank you for joining us on this very wet and rainy morning in Djuma. Thank you for bearing with us with all our technical issues. Thank you for the tech team for working tirelessly to get us back on board. For David in the Mara, for all your hard work. James, Trish and Holly, thanks FC, and everyone for your questions and comments. We'll see you later. Have a good day. Goodbye.